Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
You're listening to the Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a fuck, that's what they don't understand.
I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a fuck, I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, on my totem is nothing. In the discussion, for them feelings I throw all my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you almost spotted the feast. I've been on go mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride. Cool shorty, too naughty, pool party, wet for the face ride. Annie up, penny down, hand me down, thrift store, old drip. New money, too funny, old shorty talking about, I'm on a now, can't get a pass now. I'm a cash cow, keeping it brash now. It's trash now, I'm a spaz out. I've been killing my lows and living on highs. You see in the skies the proof. You could just see in my eyes that there is no lies. I cannot disguise the truth.
All right, let's get to it, everybody. Welcome back. 513-873-7134. That is my number. It's a magical code that unlocks your own flow. Again, 513-873-7134. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the show. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. It's the Nathan Ivey Show, live, local, and vocal. It's always my pleasure to be with you. You know what I'm saying? I love it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm here. Let's do it. Let's do it. Good morning to you. Listen, on today's show, I want to talk about a lot of things, but I don't want to talk a lot about politics on today's show. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about politics. I'm trying my best to stay away from politics. I feel like leading up to the election, that's all we talked about. Now, I don't have a problem with it. I don't regret it because we reflect what needs to be discussed here on the Nathan Ivey Show. But there's so many more things that interest me. So today I have prepared a smattering of topics as it relates to people and pleasure. Hopefully you can get into it. Before we get started, please like and share today's show. Again, when you like and share today's show, it means everything. Today's sponsor is IMGBAT. Let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, then we'll come back to the flows.
I'm Brian. I make fine jewelry and wearable art. I use the finest metals, stones, and gems to bring you unique, one-of-a-kind pieces, all available in my online store, imgbat.com. I design for men, women, and children. I use natural stones, and I create my own. My mission is to provide everyone high-quality pieces that fit your budget. Have money for diamonds, rubies, and gold? I got you covered. Bank account set up a certain way? I have high-grade synthetic alternatives. The point is, everybody should have access to nice things. I also have state-of-the-art jewelry cleaning equipment and 3D printing capabilities. After fighting the ugly conditions we've endured for so long, it's time to create something beautiful. Black-owned, black-designed jewelry for everyone. IMGBAT, fine jewelry and wearable art. Listeners of the Nathan Ivey Show, you get 10% off. Just put in choppers in the discount code. And Patreons, follow up with Nathan and he'll tell you how to get 15% off.
All right, good morning real quick. Had to put a quick jacket on. I keep it chilly in my home studio. We got a little bit of equipment in here. I don't want to overheat. Good morning to you. IMGBAT.com is today's sponsor. And they're doing something special for Nathan Ivey Show listeners. They're offering 10% off between now until the end of the year on all purchases over $25. One of a kind, handcrafted, fine jewelry. It's an online fine jewelry store. And you can find it at IMGBAT.com. It's December 22nd. You might be scrambling for some gifts, looking for something unique, looking for something that's Black owned. Again, consider IMGBAT.com, and you can find a description to their online store along with the coupon code that you can use to get an additional 10% off. Now, if you're a Patreon to the Nathan Ivey Show, then they're offering 15% off for you. And if you're a Patreon and you already have the link, all you have to do is go to the Patreon feed, and the coupon code for you for an additional 15% off is already waiting for you. It's already been posted. Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome back to the show. And we're rounding out 2020, man. What a hell of a year. What a hell of a year. 2020 has changed my life for the better. It has changed my life for the better, quite honestly. And in terms of our personal relationships, our personal circle, there has been a lot of death, quite honestly, straight up. I read within the last 24 hours that 2020 is the deadliest year in record. Like, more Americans have died in 2020 than ever before. And primarily it's because of what? The coronavirus. 2020 is one for the history books. And don't think that anything's going to change overnight or dramatically just because we change a calendar year, family. It doesn't work that way. This coronavirus thing is still here. I got a video for you of a man acting a damn fool because he's one of these anti-maskers. And I'm like, wow, they still exist? Y'all still out here? I don't want to wear a mask. I've got no sympathy for you. I got no tears for you whatsoever. We need to do what we got to do. I'll leave the sympathy for the anti-maskers for other people. Okay, I ain't got none for you. Good morning to you. 513-873-7134. If you like to share your thoughts this morning, I'd love to hear them. I would love to hear your thoughts about any of the topics that we're going to be talking about this morning. At the top of the list, man, let's get straight into it. I want to talk about fatherhood for a little bit, maybe a segment or two. I want to talk to fathers. I want to talk about fathers. All right. I want to talk to fathers and I want to talk about fathers. And in particular, I'd like to know, what you think about the comments made by T.I. Now, T.I. is a well-known hip hop artist. I say he's an entertainer. His roots is hip hop, but now he does movies and all kind of stuff. And he has a very, very popular podcast called Expeditiously. And on a recent interview, he was talking with 21 Savage. Whatever happened to 22 Savage? But he was talking with 21 Savage, the brother you can see on the right there, who's also a hip hop artist as well. And he started talking about fatherhood. And T.I. made a statement that has been getting him slammed in some internet spaces. Not everywhere, but in some spaces. Okay. He got slammed for calling his daughter time THOT prevention time. THOT prevention time. And before I play the clip, I'd like to know from fathers, how do you view your time with your daughter? Do you view the time with your daughter as THOT prevention time, as in that hoe over there? I want you to think about this and give me a call if you feel inclined to do so, if you feel comfortable, or leave a comment and tell me what you think. Do you agree with T.I.? Now, let me say this as a caveat at the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? Every adult that has children, who are blessed to have children, are allowed to raise their kids the way they want to raise their kids. I mean, within the accordance of the law, you know, minus any abuse and things like that. But if that's the standard that you have, and you're spending time with your child, then, you know, it is what it is. So obviously T.I., that's his daughter. He has a right to do it. But in terms of a conversation piece, I'm just interested in how other people look at this. Do you agree with T.I.? Obviously, there's some people out there that don't agree with the brother because he's been getting slammed for his comments. And he said that he looks at his daddy-daughter time as THOT prevention time, as if spending time with your daughter, this is what I'm getting from his statement, that spending time with his daughter will prevent his daughter from turning into a hoe. And I want to get your honest thoughts about it this morning, 513-873-7134. I want to hear from dads in particular. Mom, you could chime in later, but I want to hear from dads. I want to hear from dads. What do you think? Do you agree with T.I.? Are people tripping? Like, how they going to criticize this man? At least he's spending time with his daughter. I'd like to know. You tell me. You tell me. Let it marinate a little bit. You might be hearing it for the first time. It's all over the place. Double XL Mag. T.I. calls the quality time he spends with his daughter THOT prevention hours. T.I. under fire. This is a showbiz cheat sheet. T.I. under fire again for calling time spent with his daughter's THOT prevention hours. Yeah, it's all over the place. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, listen, he's in his daughter's life. That's what really matters. That's his daughter. But in terms of the conversation piece, because it is a conversation piece, I want to get your thoughts about it. I want to get your thoughts about it. Do you agree with T.I. that daddy-daughter time is, in fact, THOT prevention time? If you have a daughter, if you're a father and you have a daughter or daughters, is that how, maybe in the back of your mind, you look at the time you spend with your daughters? Is there a causal relationship, cause and effect relationship between not having daddy-daughter time and then a woman, a young woman or whatever, but a woman, a female, a daughter, becoming a THOT? And what exactly is a THOT? I believe it's an acronym that stands for that hoe over there. But what is a hoe these days? Is this a promiscuous woman? Does THOT only refer to a woman? Is a promiscuous man a THOT? Is there some gender bias at play here? Something to think about, something I'm thinking about. Share your thoughts with me this morning. I'd love to get your thoughts about it. So if daddy-daughter time is THOT prevention hours, what is mommy-daughter time? Is that THOT prevention hours? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. I'd like to hear. I'd like to get your thoughts this morning. 513-873-7134. Also, probably coming up in a little bit, maybe about 8:15 or so, maybe 8:30. We'll see how it goes. Rosie Perez is in the news as well. And somebody posted this in the friends page, and I was reading just a couple of the reactions. I'm like, what? I got to talk about this. Remember Rosie Perez? Yeah, Rosie Perez is iconic for a lot of portrayals, but I think at the top of the list is Do the Right Thing, opposite Spike Lee. Well, she was most recently on the Fat Joe podcast. That's right. all the way up. Fat Joe has a podcast on Revolt. And he's had some interesting moments. You know, he's an insider, so we can get a lot of those insider interviews. And it's interesting. You know, it's just like some straight FaceTime stuff, but it's interesting. You know what I'm saying? And he was talking to Rosie Perez. I got a clip for you. And Rosie Perez seemed to just come out and say that, you know, she has some issues with Spike. Like Spike was trying to press up on her, made her feel uncomfortable. And I mean, I have no reason to disagree with her. I mean, that's how she looks at it. That's how she looks at it. I'm not here to say I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? I think in a lot of cases, the reason why a lot of women who are victimized sexually don't come forward is because they're afraid of what everybody else is going to say, men and women. And it's quite surprising when I see women react this way when a woman comes forward. We'll talk about it. That's coming up later on the show. We got our first call this morning. Let me take it and see what's up. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan. Kev on the field.
Hey, what up, Kev?
Other side. I can't turn off your video on my other side, man. It's just messed me up. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I mean, why slam me for? I might not like the words that he used, and I probably don't necessarily say it. I wouldn't say it that way. Like, I'm not putting any connotation of my daughter being a thought, period. So that thought wouldn't actually enter into my mind. But truly, I mean, you know, if you're not teaching your young lady how to be a young lady, how's she gonna learn what to expect? Then what's her expectations gonna be? You know what I mean? You might not like his language, but somebody else has said, one of the comedians was like, your number one job in life is to make sure your daughter ain't on the pole. I mean, it's you know, yeah, you know, you're supposed to cultivate your child, so spending time with her and showing her what a real man looks like and making sure that she's aware of, you know, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Those are all, I guess it makes sense for what he said. But people are really, really, really soft-skinned now. And, you know, if you say something that's not quote unquote politically correct, they tend to go off on tangents. And sometimes you just gotta listen to the message, you know, the meaning in the message, man, more than the words. I don't know. I think it's acceptable to say that I'm doing the best that I can to make sure my daughter grows up to be a wholesome, respectable, you know, shero. You know what I mean? That's who I'm raising. And so if that means I don't want her to be a thought, that means I don't want her to be a thought. And I think thought is self-explanatory. And I think you know, it means that you're out there and you're doing whatever you want to do, but not necessarily being ladylike. You know. That's what I think, bro.
So you don't see no problem with what he said.
I think what he said is the truth. I mean, most of us that are men that are raising young ladies are trying to raise young ladies. You know, if you think of quote unquote thought being the opposite of a young lady, which is kind of the way I do, then yeah, I'm raising my daughter not to be that. That's who I'm raising her to be. I want her to be, you know, a respectable, self-sufficient, independent, strong black woman. And the connotation of that word is not that. So I definitely am not trying to raise her to be that. And it doesn't matter what you think that word means, you know, individually. If you're looking at it as what most folks think, right? You know, you might be like, hey, you know, I don't care. My little girl can go out there and be just like these boys, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, but that's not the connotation of that word. The connotation of that word is a young woman or young lady who doesn't have a strong self-worth. So if that's who he's raising his daughter to be, kudos to him. I believe that's what we all should be doing, is raising our daughters to be strong, independent, self-sufficient, fierce, loving, loyal, young ladies.
Well, quick question, Kev, on the cell. Is it possible for a woman to be strong, self-sufficient, self-reliant, intelligent, smart, and also sexually active?
Sexually active, yes. But remember, again, the connotation of that word is not just being sexually active. It's literally being thirsty. You know what I mean? There's a difference between sexually active and thirsty.
Really? What's the difference?
Between sexually. Well, thirsty is like I'm gonna go sleep with your man or whatever. Those types of things. The things that are not. It's not about. It's not necessary. Well, I believe. I need to put that caveat on it. I need to put that caveat on it, and it's important to put that caveat on it. And these are my opinions. You know what I mean? So you might have a different one, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But the connotation of that word, it's a negative connotation, and it's thirsty. It means, the woman that's out there messing with everybody else's man because she quote unquote can't get one or don't have enough self-esteem or self-worth to say, that what I'm doing is not necessarily for my best benefit. It's just to get a dude or something like that. That's what THOT means, or that's what I understand it to mean. Now, if you say that the young lady's out here and she's in a state of mind where she has chosen for herself that she wants to have various sexual partners or whatever, and she wants to do whatever she wants to do in order to please herself or ingratiate herself, that's different to me. That's a very different thing than being a quote unquote THOT. But there's nothing positive about being, in my opinion, about being a THOT. Claiming yourself to be a THOT is not something that I have seen done. I don't know if I've ever seen that done. I haven't seen any young ladies running around saying, "Yeah, I'm a THOT." So,
well, is a THOT the same as a slut?
Is a THOT the same as a slut? Yeah, probably.
Amber Rose has referred to herself as a slut. She had a whole slut parade where she was embracing her sexuality and like, hey, if you don't like the fact that I do what I do when I get ready to, don't like it.
And see that. So again, we gotta draw that line. So, and look, the term quote unquote slut, right? I don't think that people should gravitate to negative words in order to, psychologists say that what we do is we take words, the N-word, words like that are really hurtful, and we personalize them. We make them internal to us in order to make them acceptable, so that we can manage that, those issues. I don't agree to that, so I'm gonna say that up front. It is what it is. If you sit there and you tell me, you a punk, I'm not gonna make punk cool. Yeah, man, I'm a punk. No, that ain't. No, you gonna call me a punk? We're probably gonna have some problems. So, I'm not about to grab these negative words and then give them power by saying, oh yeah, because I'm in charge of my look. I'm a young. If I'm Emery, I'm like, hey, look, I honestly, no, I'm not a slut, but I like sex, and that's what it is, and that's all there is to it. I'm a grown woman. I can do what I want to do. That's cool. I'm not grabbing these negative words to try to make them into positive sayings. So I don't encourage anybody out there to run around calling themselves a THOT. You do not want to be known as that. Well, you should not want to be known as that hoe over there. That's not something that you should ingratiate yourself with. Now, if you want to go out and you want to be sexually active and do whatever it is that you do, all of that is fine. But the word itself, that word, it means what it means. And it is what it is. You don't really I don't believe you get to change the connotation of these words like that.
Really? I disagree.
That might make you feel better.
I think you can change the connotation of a word, personally. It's all about what it means to you and how you take it. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but man, so I mean, look, so that means I get it, right? Cool does the word cool does not necessarily refer to somebody being likable and friendly. But again, I would rather, if it's me, I would just rather say, like, you ain't gonna call me an N-word. You know what I'm saying? Not with the A, but with the ER, because NIGGA means never ignorant, getting goals accomplished, blah blah blah, all of that. I get it. That actually is a different word to me. So but it's literally a different word. That you're not gonna call me the other word, because we don't have problems.
I hear you. I get it.
Change the connotation. You know what I'm saying? You could say, "Oh man, I said that with the friendliest of intention." No, man, you call me that word, we probably gonna have some problems. I'm not gonna change the connotation of it. And I think the same thing happens with things like that. Even if you say, like, I'm saying this to empower myself, someone else is hearing, that's not cool. Why would you want to be that? So I think what he said is, I'm going to raise my, I think what he said is, I'm spending quality time with my daughter so that she has some good morals and understands, how to be a young lady. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. You can blast him for the word choice if you want to, I guess, whatever, It's not hot if you don't say it the way he said it, and it probably wouldn't be trending. And I'm pretty sure he probably owns some words on Google or something. And every time somebody get mad about it, he probably get paid, because he's a very smart he's a very smart gentleman. So I'm sure he figured out a way to monetize it. I don't know, man. I'm like, people are a little bit hypersensitive these days, man. Folks getting mad about the wrong things. We got some real problems out here. Like, I'm more worried about the young lady that, quote unquote, is being a THOT and has low self-esteem and can't figure out, why she doesn't have more self-worth and things like that. That's more what I'm thinking about. The other person who's out there and just kind of doing what they want to do, and that just means that they don't care about nobody else or nobody else's feelings. I don't want my daughter to be associated with that person.
All right, I got you, brother. Hey, listen, thank you for the call.
Real talk. Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
stay blessed.
Most definitely.
If I don't get to talk to you, man, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and have a very happy New Year, man. 2021.
Same to you, brother.
The old president is done.
I'm looking forward to the change. Thank you for the call, Kev. Appreciate you, man. Kev says no problem with it. I got the audio clip for you. Let me play it for you. We'll listen in to T.I.'s podcast. He was talking with 21 Savage. It's interesting. All this stuff is intertwined, because I saw 21 Savage used to be in a relationship with a woman named Amber Rose. Some of y'all might remember she was in a relationship with this brother. And she is famous for, like, repurposing the word slut. She was like, look, I'm sexually active. Y'all, I do what I want to do when I want to. She started these slut walks, right? And there's an image out there. Look at Big Boy from Big Boy's Neighborhood. This might be it, but there's an image out there of 21 Savage, this brother that's over her right shoulder, and he's holding a sign that reads, "I'm a slut too." It was hilarious. I'm looking for it right now. I thought I had it in my archives. It's hilarious. So I'm a slut too. Like, damn, man. So she was all about, redefining it. Because you know how society is when it comes to women and sex. There's a big old double standard. Men can do what they want to do. And as soon as a woman does something that men don't like, they want to label you. So I might have a different viewpoint of it, but I want to get your thoughts about it. I mean, what do you think? So T.I.'s being slammed right now because he, on his podcast, and again, it's your podcast, you say what you want to say, right? He was on this podcast interviewing a man named 21 Savage. What happened to 22 Savage? And he said that he looks at time with his daughter as THOT prevention hours, as in preventing her from becoming a THOT. And it just made me wonder, like, do a lot of fathers do a lot of black fathers, black or white, do you look at, if you have a daughter, I want to hear from black fathers. I want to hear from fathers in general, black fathers specifically. But do you look at your time with your daughter as THOT prevention time? And I'll tell you, how I look at it as well here in a second. But let's go back to the phones and say good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, bud. Welcome, buddy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's a pleasure. I just want to address a couple of things. First of all, Mr. Brent Beard, you'd like to call me Leroy from Fame. You're late. You just joined the show. That joke's old. The man used to play the Fame theme song when I got off the phone.
Okay, I just missed it. What are you talking about now?
Some cat named Brent Beard. They'll be in the comments calling me Leroy from Fame. Another dude obsessed with my junk. That's weak. Used to play the Fame theme music when I used to call. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you got to learn the show before you start talking greasy about people. You know what I'm saying? But yesterday, Miss Tracy called in. And I thought Tracy was my friend. And she called in attacking me. And it's your fault. You put the battery in her back. A couple weeks ago, you talking about she was putting paws on me. Talking about she was putting paws on me when she was talking greasy about her auntie or whoever that lady is. Trying to run for city council. Tracy asked, she said, maybe Fame, he'll hit me up later or he can call in tomorrow and answer this question. When do the Obama girls get to make mistakes like regular people? You answered your own question, Tracy. She made the mistake by allowing herself to be photographed twerking like a THOT. That's where she made her mistake. You can't allow yourself to be in that type of compromising position when your dad is the former first black president. And on top of that, the reason was listen, me and Glenn talk a lot of smack to each other in the chop shop, but one thing I've always given him credit for is the way he used to go after them talk show hosts in the 90s, the white sports talk show hosts. And one thing he would always get on them about was them trying to put their lives into a celebrity life. And it's the same thing with the Obama daughters. We can't put our, commoners' ethos on them because our kids will never have the luxury that those two girls have. Because the one luxury they have that none of us listening have is they'll never go broke. Because they can have a 20-year drug binge like the Olsen twins. Be 35, 40 years old looking 70. But they'll both get, from Penguin Publishing, Random House, whoever, they'll both get multiple $1 million when they're ready to tell their story about growing up black in the White House. Our kids don't have that luxury. So again, to whom much is given, much is required. I hope that answers your question, sis. Okay? Now, as far as T.I., the brother can't win for losing. If his son ain't in the bathroom in a fight, they got videos of his son fighting in the bathroom. I think he's kind of exploiting his daughter a little bit too much. The thing with the hymen from earlier this year, he's taking her to the gynecologist to make sure her hymen was still intact. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was a bit much, but I can't tell him how to title the activities in his home. There's nothing wrong with a dad spending quality alone time with his daughter. You know what I'm saying? I've done it. No aunties, nobody knows. Just me and her. We're going to go watch these Globetrotters. We're going to go watch whoever. My daughter knows how to keep score at a baseball game. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. I can't tell him how to title the activities. He's a rapper. He's an artist. He's supposed to say catchy and or provocative things. And that's what he did. He called it thought prevention. It only offended people who distribute thought behavior, like twerking in restaurants.
Well, the question is this. So you have a daughter. Is that what I'm getting?
Is what?
You have a daughter? Is that what I'm understanding?
I do. Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you look at in your time with your daughter as thought prevention hours in any part in your brain?
I hate to agree with Kevin you know, but I mean, I wouldn't title it that, but that's essentially what it is. You know, there's just something about these women today that they get so offended by everything. Chuck D caught flack on Twitter about 3-4 years ago for saying, you know, not only do we need to teach men how to treat women, we need to teach women how to treat men and talk to men. And he got excoriated on Twitter by a bunch of millennials who wasn't around to understand what Chuck D means to the black community.
That's the point that Kevin Samuels has been making on his podcast too.
I mean, because it's that simple of a point. It's simple but quite clever. You know, if you're offended by it, then you know what I'm saying? You're probably leaning toward thottish behavior. You know, it doesn't. I'm speaking in generalities. It does. You know, there's always somebody with a six finger. You know, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean everybody's doing it. But if that offends you, a man, what he titles you know, it's like if you invite me to your house, I say, oh, Nate, you know, what time is supper? You say, serve dinner. I can't tell you what they call the meal. I can't tell you what they call, you know, the activities you do in your house. This is my daughter. If I want to call it Thought Prevention Time on my podcast because I'm a rapper and I'm known for talking ish, slick and greasy, you can't get, what are you offended for? But like I said, the Hyman thing, that was a bit much by the dude. I will admit, that was too much. Like, hey, you know, you stay out of there. Let her and her mom handle that.
Wait a minute. You just said, you just contradicted yourself, brother. You just said that what he does in his house with his family. I said, you just contradicted yourself. You just said that what he says in how he labels the activities with his family is his business.
It is. But when you put it out there for public consumption, it no longer becomes your business.
Just like this.
Hence the Obama girl twerking.
Just like the comment he just made about his daughter being thought prevention hours. He put that out in public. It becomes public consumption, right?
Exactly. And and I'm not judging him for what he's calling the time he spends with his daughter. He can call it whatever he wants. It doesn't got to be called daddy-daughter time.
But you judging him for how he looks.
You know,
but you didn't judge him for that. But you judged him for what he calls taking his daughter to the gynecologist.
No, I thought that was an invasion of privacy. And then putting it out for public consumption, her invasion of privacy.
Okay.
I think you're reaching, trying to box me in, and it's like,
no, I just want you to be consistent. You're not consistent, but it's all good. I'm used to it.
I'm being very gosh consistent. No, talking about
I can't hear you, brother. You sound muffled.
I don't know why. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why he decided to let everybody know that he goes to the gynecologist just for that. I thought that was a bit much, but what he's calling spending time with his daughter, I mean, we can't judge that. He's spending, like you said, he's in the house, he's with his daughter, spending time with his kids. We can't get mad at that. If you find that offensive, you're, you know, like I said, you probably displayed thought behavior at some point. That's all. You know?
Now, is thought a term, in your opinion, Fame? Is thought a term that is solely based for women, or can a man be a thought?
You know, these millennials and younger, they're so interchangeable anymore. I mean, hell, they're the ones that pushing for unisex bathrooms. They call everybody whatever. You know, white kids who live in damn Mason call each other the N-word. We have no control over the lexicon anymore. You know, like, I mean, hell, the N-word. I mean, you know, if we wasn't on the radio.
But I'm not asking about the millennials. I'm asking your opinion. In your opinion.
I'm telling you, my opinion, I don't care what it's called. You know, we have no control over the lexicon or pop culture.
I didn't ask you if you had control.
You know, it's just like black men calling each other the N-word. It's a term of endearment to some generation.
So in your opinion, let me be more specific. In your opinion, the term thought, is there a gender bias to that, or it doesn't make a difference? It could be a man can be a thought, and a woman can be a thought, in your opinion.
In my opinion, either or. Men can be thoughts. There's men holes out there. That doesn't matter to me. I mean, that I think that's irrelevant. The point is, we have a black man trying to put his daughter up on game, and he's being judged because, as I said yesterday, nobody respects the black dad.
Well, nobody respects the black man. Kevin Samuels put that out there. On the low, black men, there's a low level of disrespect and loathing toward black men in general. So we agree on that one.
So, yeah. So therefore, leave the brother alone. What he calls his time with his daughter. Like I said, if you see that video of his son, I was actually proud of the kid. Because he's T.I.'s son. Everybody knows that he's probably taking stuff all day at school. And he goes in the bathroom, like you're supposed to, out of sight. And he's in the pocket swinging bombs. The guy, for some reason, just can't win for losing anymore. And before I go, I saw that Rex Chapman, you know who he is?
Former NBA player.
He used to play for Kentucky, used to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, he's starting a podcast. And I just want to shout out you and everybody else who's doing a podcast, because the rest of the regular folks who are doing podcasts, we got to eat from a small table that's got a few crumbs on it, because every ex-jock and every ex-rapper is doing a podcast, and they all suck at interviewing because they don't know how to let their guests finish a sentence. So I just want to celebrate you, salute you for keep grinding, and everybody else. Drop, whoever else is doing a podcast. You say Glenn's coming out with one. Everybody, because it's a crowded ass market right now.
And getting more crowded every day.
Or an ex-rapper, you're gonna be frustrated trying to get listeners. So salute to you for that, brother. That's all I got, B. Again, Tracy, I hope I answered your question. I'll holler. Oh!
Yeah, I don't think you did, but I'll let Tracy, from what I understand her question to be, I don't think you did, but it's all good. Appreciate the call. All right, 513-873-7134. He's right about that. It is a crowded market. More and more podcasters every single day. Everybody's podcasting. In the last 4 years, everybody's podcasting. Anybody with a phone, and I love it, quite honestly. But there's always levels to it. It's always levels to it. I see podcasts every day that could definitely benefit from the touch of these hands right here. But it is what it is. I say, do you? More the merrier. I'm not hip to the Rex Chapman podcast, but that's what people are doing these days. He's right. Every ex-jock, every anybody, anything, and everybody. That's just the way the world is. All right, good morning to you. So T.I. is being slammed for calling time with his daughter THOT prevention hours. And I want to hear from fathers, do you agree with that? Is that how you look at it? All right. That's what I want to talk about this morning. All right. Now, I do have a special guest coming in as well. We're going to switch up the game just a little bit and speak with Dr. Edmund Moore, who's backstage right now. What's up, Dr. Moore? Can you hear me, sir? I think you can. Yes, I see you backstage. We'll talk a little race politics, racial equity coming up with Dr. Moore in just a minute. All right. As I said, expect more guests from the Nathan Ivey Show. I want to talk to interesting people out there about interesting things. All right. We'll talk with him at 8:30 a.m. this morning. All right. But let's get back to this for the next 10 minutes. T.I. slammed for calling time with his daughter THOT prevention hours. And I'm glad that the brother was consistent. Because when I asked him, can a man be a thought? He kept it real. He was like, yeah, you can be. Because in my opinion, when I hear the word thought, I hear it being attributed to women primarily, not men. And at the end of the day, I think it's a beautiful thing when a father is involved in his daughter's life. I tend to agree with what Frame said about a man or a father being able to label whatever he's doing inside of his house, whatever he wants to. If that's what he wants to label it, great. But for us, I'm thinking it could be an interesting conversation piece. I want to get your thoughts about it. Is that how you look at it? And there is a relationship between the two. We know that, right? We know there's a relationship. Some of these young girls didn't grow up with their fathers, and they end up going into the arms of a whole bunch of dudes and looking for love, and it turns into sexual interactions. We know that's true, but I don't think that's 100%. You know what I'm saying? Chris Rock said many years ago, famously in a stand-up, that his number one job as a father was to keep his daughter off the stripper pole. And I thought to myself, you're rich. I think you'll be all right. I think way before she decides to do that, you're rich, dude. Mission accomplished. I think you got that one. But I'm just interested. I mean, I want to dive deep into the psyche of fathers. I want to know what you think this morning. So let me go to the chop shop real quick and say good morning. Majestic writes, good morning, folks. Good morning to you, Majestic. Miss D writes, greetings. Majestic writes, the holidays aren't complete without the DMX Rudolph the Reindeer Rough Rider remix. You know what? Thank you for reminding me. We'll play it before the end of the show. One of the greatest renditions of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer ever. Ray writes here. Minister of Information writes, good morning, Nate. Brenda writes, happy Tuesday. Jared writes, good morning, hashtag Team and I. Tracy is in the house. Clue Magic writes, Grand Risings, Nate and the Choppers. Mike Jones writes, good morning, Choppers. Who day? That's right. The Bengals got a big win yesterday. Y'all might get mad at me, but I told you I jumped off the Bengal bandwagon a long time ago. I refuse to pour any emotions into a losing team. Now, you can call me a fair weather fan or you can call me whatever you want to, but that little roller coaster y'all on, up and down, I'm not on it. And to me, the big win they had over the Steelers yesterday, number one, I love it. I love it because you Steeler fans are fucking obnoxious. Y'all fucking obnoxious. Y'all acting like y'all on the damn team. You're not on the team. So for all the Steeler fans of the Choppers, you're going to get this work today. You're going to get this work today. All right? It is what it is. When the Bengals beat the Steelers, I love it. Why? Because Steeler fans are so obnoxious. And the most obnoxious of all Steeler fans are Steeler fans that live in Cincinnati. I can't stand y'all. So there, I'm glad you lost. But the big win yesterday is just the up and down roller coaster nature of the Bengals. They always have a win that they are not supposed to get, or usually at least once or twice a year. And then they get y'all every single time. I guarantee you, it's some Bengal fans that sitting around like, oh, we on the way back. We on the way up. Fat Joe and then Remy Ma. We on the way. You're not on the way up, man. This is what they do. Stop it. You on the way to a number one first round draft pick. That's what you on the way to. Stop it. We on the way up. No, you're not. But I'm happy y'all beat the Steelers because I'm fucking sick of the Steelers. I'm telling you that right now. I can't stand these Steelers fans. You're so damn obnoxious. So you get what you get. King Kobla writes, COVID-19 cases going up thanks to 10,000 Bengal fans for a first Monday Night Football win. He's right about that. COVID, Steelers, COVID, Steelers. It was a lot of traffic around the city last night. I was out a little bit and ran into it. Majestic writes, I only have a son, no daughters. Like Rock said, got to keep your daughter off the pole and son off the pipe. That's your measurement of a successful parenting. Man, coming up a little short there, but okay, I hear you. Crystal writes, good morning. Hey, good to see you, Crystal. Cassandra writes, hey, Choppers, my Steelers beat themselves last night. Bengals still suck, and no amount of first-round draft picks will change that. See, that's what I'm talking about, these obnoxious Steeler fans. My Steelers beat themselves last night. No, y'all got whooped, Cassandra. And I don't even rep for the Bengals. I'm born and raised in Cincinnati because I need a new coach and some wins. And I do disagree with you, Cassandra. If we get we get enough first-round draft picks, we will change that. We will change that. King Kobla writes, Alexa, play Houdini. You hilarious. CG Dub, another one of these Steeler fans. She writes, good morning, Choppers. Mason Muller writes, Steeler fans are hilarious. Just take that L and move on. Nothing to see here. Yes, right. Tracy writes, the Steelers coach is still in my fantasy file. Does your husband know that? In here talking about fantasy files. You a married woman. I ain't going to use no acronyms. I'm just going to say. King Colby writes, Rosie Perel is still in my fantasy file. Thanks to Spike. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Apparently, Rosie says she has some issues with Spike. We'll talk about it. And then I just believe there's women out there that's dragging her. It's on the fence page. Go look at it. Let me see. Pour a little liquor out for my Steeler fans. Apple malt duck shots on me. Hilarious. Sharp Rice, good morning, Nathan Choppers. Good morning to you. I never even thought about it that way, but that's me. Is that right? Old grievance dude, fame is the White Patton of the chop shop. Is he? Old grievance dude? He is sensitive about people saying stuff about him. Tony writes, good morning, Choppers. I say keep it up. Tracy writes, Malia and Sasha Obama in their 20s have advantages that my 51-year-old ass will never have. I mean, they still should be allowed to live their lives. Clumazer writes, nah, Cassandra, don't do that. The Steelers got out coached and outplayed last night. Mistakes are part of the game. Tracy writes, maybe T.I. just speaking on his kids' level. Sometimes we have to speak on their level unless you want to go back to calling women fitness like Too Short. Pick your poison. Not that serious. Well, he said it on his podcast, and he was talking to another grown man with kids, so he wasn't talking to his children. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of other issues, but we're talking about this right now. Majestic writes, I see the average chick has a response to Kevin Samuels. Can't wait to watch. Is that right? Oh, send me a link. I got to check it out. It's hilarious. Crystal writes, these dudes out here, thoughts too. I'm just saying. Okay. Nate 11 minus, and I can't understand what you're saying. That's CG Dub. Steeler fans are on one this morning. It's okay, ting ting. That's hilarious. B writes, where there's a second string Steelers lineup, it's embarrassing to be beaten by the Bengals. Ha ha. CG Dub writes, the traffic wasn't because of the game, Nate. It was due to an accident on 275 West. Hashtag don't do that. Oh, okay. But the traffic was in Corryville, because I live in the Corryville area near the University of Cincinnati, and it was traffic all the way up and down Martin Luther King. So I'm not sure. Drops it now. She writes, good morning, Choppers. Good to see you. Good morning to you. Again, coming up, we got Dr. Edwin Moore. In just about a minute, I'm going to bring him onto the show here in about 30 seconds, and we'll talk a little race politics. Get a chance to know the brother a little bit better and pick his brain on some things that are going on. Matter of fact, with no further ado, let's bring the doctor straight on. Hey, how you doing, Dr. Moore? Welcome to the show.
Hey, doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Can you hear me?
So, the Bengals gonna have a number 3 pick, not the number 1.
Number 3. That's still top 10. It's gonna make the team a little bit better. So, all right, please don't tell me you're a Steeler fan.
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I was born in Georgia, so I'm a Atlanta Falcons fan.
Okay. As long as you're not a Steeler fan.
More.
Yeah, as long as you're not a Steeler fan, it's all good. These damn Steeler fans. I know I got too many friends from Cincinnati that's run around here talking about Steelers. I'm like, but you live in Cincinnati. I don't get it, but it is what it is. I don't want to bore you with that. Again, how you doing? Thank you to the welcome. Thank you and welcome to the show. So again, this is the first time on the show. Tell people about yourself.
Well, I'm born and raised in Georgia. I'm an engineer, father of 2 daughters. Have a doctorate degree in material science and engineering. Went to at HBCU, Florida A&M University, the Rattlers. So. And I've recently written a book and working on writing another book.
And tell us about that book. What's the title of it and what's it all about?
The book I have written is called With the Father's Love, 52 Weekly Letters to My Beloved Daughters. And so that book was written in the midst of a divorce, and I just wanted my daughters to know who I was. And so I wrote 52 topical letters about various subjects.
Wow.
And also threw in my history about myself and the family in it as well.
Okay. So what prompted you to do that, to write a book to your daughters? That's very interesting.
I was in the midst of a divorce, and I just, you worried about as a father in Ohio, you worry about losing custody of your children. And so I just wanted my daughters to know who I was. And at the time, they were very young. They were 8, 8 and 12 years old. So just wanted to know who I was and who the family was.
And so how old are your daughters now?
19, 16.
19, 16. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, how does it feel? I mean, have they read the book? I'm sure they did. And what's their thoughts on it?
Before I wrote the book, I actually wrote them individual letters. So they got a letter each week. So before the book was put together. The book was really put together for the public. It wasn't for to help inspire other young girls who may didn't have father, that kind of thing. And it seems to touch a nerve more with the adults than with the young girls. I can't hear you.
Earlier, I was talking about T.I. and on his podcast. I know you heard the conversation. He referred to, daddy-daughter time as THOT prevention hours. What's your take on that?
I missed out on that discussion. So,
well, you do know who T.I. is, right? The famous rapper.
Oh yeah, I know who T.I. is out of Atlanta.
Okay, and you do know what a THOT is, right? It's an acronym that stands for that hoe over there.
Well, I know and I heard you talking a little bit about Chris Rock. His biggest thing was making sure his daughters end up on the pole. So
right. I mean, so since you wrote this book, I'm curious. I mean, what's your take as a father of 2 daughters? I mean, how did you look at your biggest responsibility? Albeit maybe it's different because maybe you were out of the home because of divorce, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it.
We have 50-50 custody, so they'll be half the time with their mother half the time. So that's not been an issue. Thank God. I just I teach Sunday school, so I raised my daughters up in the church, but also let them know what's going on in the world. You can't be so holy that you don't know what's going on in the world. So I tell them about what boys look for and that kind of thing, and what to expect, and you try to give them that little education there.
Now, I know you came on to talk about how the coronavirus pandemic is hitting Black families the hardest. But when I heard about the title of your book, I just wanted to ask that question of you as well. So I appreciate the response. But let's get into the meat of the conversation, the pandemic and how it's hitting Black families. Give me your perspective on that. What do you see? And why is it particular to the Black family, in your opinion?
I wouldn't. First thing I would say is that Black families are one of the least unbanked segments of society. So if you look across society, 5.4% of the United States households don't have a bank account. Black households, that jumps to about almost 14%. So when a pandemic hits, especially economic, we're not prepared. And we know that there's a legacy of our time in slavery in this country, and not having equal civil rights until about this early 60s. So we're behind in that area. So they always say if in an economy that a rising tide lifts all boats. But if your boat has a leak in it, because you didn't have the opportunity to save and put aside a nest egg and that kind of thing, and you were sinking this in a rising economy. And definitely when the economy is going down, you're going to sink. You're just going to be on the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the solution? I mean, how do we? Is it a government solution, or does it come from the Black family, in your opinion?
It's both. Individually and families need to come together and collectively work on the economics. As far as I'm talking about, I know the Africans used to pool their resources. I remember Kawanza Kenjufu wrote a book about that, about pulling your resources together. Whoever had the best idea, they would start a business, and they would all, get the fruits of that effort. So, but we just have to make sure that we are saving our money for a rainy day. It always reminds me of the Chandra Bland situation in Texas when she got pulled over, and no one in her family could put together $1,000 to get out of jail. I think it was $500. And that was indicative of the status of the Black families as a whole.
Yeah, so I mean, when you say the government, I mean that sounds like specific policies. You know, I came across something within the last 24 hours I thought was kind of interesting, right? So we know that Congress just passed this $900 billion, stimulus, COVID release fund. Every adult and child is supposed to, if you're eligible, is going to get $600, which is half the amount of money that was given back in March to adults, right? Because that was $1,200. Mm-hmm. But then I think I was on a website called The Grio, and someone wrote a really interesting opinion piece. They're like, you know what? Now it's time for that. It's time for that racial equity stimulus plan. Mm-hmm. So they weren't calling it reparations. They were calling it a racial equity stimulus plan, right? Because the non-white community in this country is in a different economic state. Would you agree with something like that?
Yes, I agree with it. And one of the things I looked up when they said the $600, I looked up and said, okay, what is the average efficiency apartment rent for an efficient apartment? So I looked that up last night. And what I came up with was, if I had a 200 square foot apartment, 200 square feet, that ain't big, 200 to 500. The cheapest I could find was $400 in Wichita, Kansas. In Ohio, it was $420 in Toledo. So that's telling me that if I get the $600 and I just have to pay rent, that money's gone. Mm-hmm. And since we haven't had a stimulus plan since midsummer, it's been gone. So I'm already behind. So that money's not going to go a long way. Yeah, and other things need to be done that are more helpful.
Yeah, $600, man, for a lot of folks. As soon as that comes in, it goes right back out to bills that people are behind on. I mean, you really can't build off of that for a lot of folks. I mean, it's going straight back out, or it's going straight back out in terms of food costs. Mm-hmm. It's going straight back out. Everybody's at home; they're eating more at home, and that means more money for food. So I think it's pretty much. I mean, I would take it over nothing. But it's not as much as the people really need. Here it is. So the piece was written by John H. Jackson. He calls it the federal racial equity stimulus package. Mm-hmm. Federal racial equity stimulus package. And I agree with it 100%. Now, he's not calling it reparations. This would be sort of a federal equity sort of stimulus package based upon race. I'm 100% for that. That's what the people need. That's what our people need, in my opinion.
Right. I agree. We do need due to the systemic racism, particularly if you look at housing. I think white households have houses they own at about 7%, and African Americans own housing at a rate of about 40%. But there's a reason behind that. After World War II ended and the GI Bill came in, they didn't really allow us to purchase houses. Right. And, even redlining is still going on now. So we were not even allowed to get mortgages at decent rates. So something of that nature really should be done to help out the Black community.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big proponent of specific policies for the descendant of slaves, because there were specific government policies that created the conditions that we live in now. People want to make it seem like, oh, it's just the actions of Black folks. No, it was a coordinated attempt to keep us from us having a fair shot in the game. So that means we need a coordinated attempt to balance those scales. It makes perfect sense to me.
Right. But then we also need, one of the big things we have in this country is amnesia. So no one sees beyond the headlines from yesterday. So when you start talking about these types of policies, you're going to get pushback saying, well, I didn't do that to you, so why should we give you anything? And that's really going to be the big pushback on those types of policies.
Yeah, I heard that nonsense before, but you benefited from it whether you did it or not. I don't want to hear that nonsense. So let's talk about the Black family again. So, like, it's coronavirus. It's not over with. The virus,
Right.
the pandemic is not over. I know they're spreading the vaccine, and Joe Biden did it. He did it televised. He took his vaccine televised within the last 48 hours. That's all great. But, the smart people are saying it's going to take until mid next year for the herd immunity to kick in. So that means we're going to be stuck in this pandemic for the next at least 7 months, right? What's
I'm thinking longer than that,
if not longer than that, right? Because personally, I think we talking about this time next year, going into 2022, in my opinion. But what suggestions would you give to the Black family in terms of wealth building or how to come out of this in a better space that we went into it?
Well, one of the things I'm doing today, I'm going to talk to a trust attorney today, update a trust. And one of the things is I would say families should have budgets. They should also have prepared their wills, their powers of attorneys, those type of things. And the time to do those is really when you have good economic situations. Now that we're in the midst of a pandemic, a lot of families may not be able to afford to do those type of things, as far as the wills and those kind of things. But they really should be using the downtime to start thinking about those kind of things, to get themselves into a good financial situation coming out of the pandemic, and work on your skill sets. If you can take some online training, take it, especially if it's free. Build up your skill sets. Those are some of the things you can do.
So explain to me what a trust is, because you mentioned that first. What is a trust exactly, and why is that useful?
Well, one of the things, my neighbor across the street just died the day before Thanksgiving, and I got his family, his widow's side of the family and his side of the family are fighting over the assets. So one family won't allow the other into the household, that kind of thing, and it's a mess. Can't find the will, that kind of thing. But what a trust does is a trust puts all of your assets into a legal device, such as a bowl. So you put your wills, your power attorneys, affidavit on your house. If you die and you own a house, it goes directly to the family versus going through probate, those types of things. So that if something does happen to you, whether I'm in a car accident and I'm in a coma, the family knows what my wishes are, and all of the assets and everything are in one place, and they don't have to go trying to search through my records and everything to find out what's going on.
No, I'm with you on thinking ahead. Unfortunately, 2020 has been it's brought some tragedy. We've lost too many people in our family circle here, and most recently, my father-in-law passed away within the last week. And so, the family's kind of scrambling around, and, the conversation that we keep trying to have here is prepare beforehand, think about all these things beforehand, write it all the way out, have a will, making sure you know how to get your hands on all these documents. For me personally, I looked at COVID-19 as a stress test for my own personal finances, my business finances, my body, my health, my relationships with my family, people around me, so that, with this time that we have, we can emerge hopefully in a better spot, than the way we came into it. I know a lot of people are dealing with anxiety and the whole isolation thing and not having the social interactions, but I just feel like this is critical time we have here that we don't want to lose, right, Doc? This is critical time that we can use to get stronger on so many different levels. If you're an entrepreneur, this might be the time that you pivot in your business, or you think of a new business. I see people on my Facebook page just starting all new businesses. I'm like, that's what time it is right there. Why not?
And then when you start a new business, you got to make sure that you're protecting yourself. So that if something goes wrong in your business, you got the right, what is it, LLC or sole proprietorship or whatever, corporation. You got to make sure that you're not opening yourself up in your family for liability. So that's something you have to watch out as well. I will say that I'm the president of the Moore McDonald Family Reunion. And one of the things we did at our last family reunion was I educated the family on setting up trust and wills and that kind of thing. And that was a good discussion for the family. And a lot of my family members said, hey, we really haven't thought about that. We're getting older, that kind of thing. Thanks for sharing information. We're going to look into do that. So I think churches should really be doing this. I think every church should have a financial set ministry to help all the families in the church do these types of things to encourage.
It would only make that church family stronger. I bet you some of the churches do. But I love that. There's a podcast that's out there in the Cincinnati area that's coming to our network, hosted by a Black female named Tiffany Daniels. It's called Community Connector. And she talks a lot about that on her podcast. And she talks about, the whole family financial piece, which I think is absolutely the right direction to go. We want to go through the pictures and reminisce and talk about Granny and Paw. That's all part of family, but talking about how we can build wealth together, invest in stocks, invest in property. If you can't do it with your family, who can you do it with? Seems like a perfect business partner to me. Those are the conversations that we want to foster and cultivate, within our Black family, because that's going to make a brighter day for our children. I mean, the best way
we did that. We did that as well too. We talked about the lineage and all that kind of thing. The other thing I would tell people is that would recommend is that you start your own brokerage account with something like TD Ameritrade or one of the other no fee trading accounts. You can throw in $500 and you can start playing with the market to learn about it. And that's an easy way to get into the market to learn how it really works. You may not have the amount of money that you can go and put into a brokerage, but you can start learning yourself. So I set up accounts for both my daughters so that they could start doing that, just a minimum amount of money. So
we're gonna do the same thing with our children. My daughter's 15 now. She's right about that age where we're gonna start having those conversations. They got so many apps out there now where you can buy a small percentage of stock if you can't afford the entire stock. But again, to me, it's just about the education. I want her to understand what that means, what that language is, and understand it's a potential investment for her as she gets older. That's what time it is. And then hopefully in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, she'll be in a better financial, situation than even I was, that she and her mother and I was at her same age. You always want your kids to outdo you, right?
Right.
Well, Dr. Moore, listen, I really appreciate it. And let's stay connected. I'd love to have you come back on from time to time when there's different topics out there. And we chop it up here on the show. Where can people find your work? Where's your website? Are you on Facebook? If so, let people know where you are.
The easiest way to connect to me would be to go to my website. That's EdmundHMoore.com. And that's Edmund spelled with a U, not an O. EdmundHMoore.com. And you can find access to my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter feed as well at that site. So that's the easiest way to connect with me.
All right, Dr. Edwin Moore, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time this morning. Let's stay connected.
Yes, thanks for inviting me to your show. Please accept my condolences on the loss of your father-in-law, and wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Same to you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. That's Dr. Edwin Moore, everybody. And you can find him on his website, edwinmoore.com, and check him out. Appreciate the conversation. And again, I already know it's a lot of smart, intelligent people that comprise this audience. A lot of what we talked about, you might be like, Nate, we way ahead of you on that. We already know. Cool. I just want to reinforce something positive. I want to reinforce something positive out there, that there's a lot of stuff that's happening in COVID-19, right? There's a lot of negativity. You might have lost somebody. You might have had a lot of people sick in your family. You may have a lot of people sick in your family right now. But that does not mean that there's nothing that we can do. We can emerge from this stronger. You can emerge from this stronger physically. It just takes discipline. You can do it. You can work out at home. You can work out in your backyard. We can emerge from this stronger intellectually by reading, catching up, reading the latest books, staying up on the cutting edge of knowledge, learning a new skill. Learning a new skill. He was right on point with that. You can learn something new in this time. Even with this holiday season. You know, I know a lot of folks have been working hard all year. It's like, man, Christmas time. I ain't got to go back to January. But what you going to do with this time? You know, say build something in this time. Build up your business or learn a new skill or read a new book. Pick up a language. You know, start exercising today. You know, we can emerge from this stronger. It's all about, as individuals, as the head of our households, because along with my wife, I'm the head of this household. Many of you are the head of your households. You set the tone for the culture of your house. You are responsible for that. Nobody else. If you're someone who believes in entrepreneurship, in my opinion, the best way to teach your kids about entrepreneurship is to start a business. It's the best way. You can do it now. You can start yourself an online business if that's, you know, what you're inclined to do so. All right. Don't let the world tell you no. It can be done. You can do it. And you know you got somebody that will encourage you every single morning. I'm here to encourage you for your grind and your hustle. I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, as long as it's something positive, I want you to be successful. 100%. The world, your family, your spouse, your friends may not believe in you. I believe in you. I believe you can get it done. Okay. So I appreciate the doctor checking in. Again, many of you are the battery in your family. Well, be a battery then. Be a battery. Plug in. Give them a great example. Lead by example. It is possible. I hear people talking about how they're picking up pounds. That's a choice you're making. You could turn that around. You know, you can turn that around today. It's never too late. You alive is never too late. All right. That's what I want to say to you this morning. It's never too late. You can do it. Like I said, the world might not support you. I support you 100%. All right, let's go back to the phones here and say good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivey, and all the beautiful people out there listening to one of the greatest podcasts in the universe. This is your number one fan. You're the number one hated man in the chop shop. The number one enemy of Glee Information, also known as Mr. Cleophas, with the overseer tendencies in him. But Mr. Ivey, great show, great guest. You got the doctor in the house, and well, maybe people don't know, but I'm 60. I'm old, so sometimes I gotta hold back some of my comments, Mr. Ivey, because the messages that I heard from that doctor, which I'm pretty sure he's at least 20 years younger than me or something close to that I've been hearing that same message ever since I can remember, Mr. Ivey. When I got my first job as a paper boy in Detroit, Michigan at the age of 12, okay? At that time, my mother and father were still together. But some of these issues that the doctor was talking about, the topic of your show today about T.I. discussing how to raise young girls with another young black man. And these young men, Mr. Ivey, they are part of that era where the black father wasn't as prominent in the home as it was when I was growing up. Now, again, we know that there was a time where mothers and fathers were in the house married with the children. And we also know there were cases where couples were together, but they weren't married, but they were in the same household raising their kids. But now, Mr. Ivey, things are starting to turn because the children, those men who were raised without fathers, who now have the financial being or the ability to get their message out, because like Kev on the cell, I mean, not Kev, but Fane Rothstein said about everybody from the hip hop community, entertainment, and sports are doing podcasts. And one of the topics that is dominating is women and men and how they act in this culture with each other and with their children. So, again, Mr. Ivey, until that strong Black family starts to come back together, and you are a great example of that, but you're almost 50 years old, Mr. Ivey. So at least you're raising a young man and a young woman in a household where they have the visuals right in front of them that gives them that foundation to carry with them when they go into adulthood. Now, obviously, we know once they become adults, they're going to make their own decisions, but they'll have that foundation in the back of their mind that will always be there for them to reference as far as how they should carry themselves or what the ramifications might be if they make the wrong choices in life. So I just want to give a shout out to all these young brothers, T.I., who's the 21 Savage, even Lil Boosie. I mean, I can go on and on about these young men who probably did not have fathers in their home, but because they reached a level of financial ability to where now not only can they use their music to elevate their message, but now they're using social media, they're using TV. And Mr. Ivey, I cannot wait for 2021. And hopefully, God willing, I will reach my life expectancy for a Black man, which is about 80 years old around right now, somewhere between, late 70s and 80. So I'm excited, and maybe one day I might be part of the social media podcast world because I got an opinion, and my opinion is not really heard on social media. When I say my opinion, I'm talking about a Black man in his 60s that was raised in Detroit, joined the military, worked for the government, involved in the community through my refereeing, and has seen a lot. So who knows? Maybe one day I'll put my voice out there and somebody will listen, because my motto is all it takes is to reach one to teach one. So anything from me before I go, Mr. Ivey?
That's all I need, sir. Appreciate you.
All right. Drop Squad 52. Dropping science to anyone who wants to catch it. Pittsburgh Steelers, get your act together, because it ain't how you start, it's how you finish. Peace.
They get their act together. That's hilarious. You damn Steeler fans. So damn obnoxious. So damn obnoxious. Juan writes, what up, though? What up, Juan? Cinnamon is on YouTube. She writes, morning. Good morning to you. Nat writes, being rich didn't help Lawrence Fishburne's daughter. Yeah, but they were estranged, though. She didn't grow up in the house with him. Alicia writes, Lawrence Fishburne was rich. His daughter ended up on a pole and in a few videos. She sure did. They sure did. Tiff writes, thought behavior. Lemmy writes, good morning. Good morning to you, Lemmy. Tiff writes, that behavior is lucrative. Check out the Horrible Decisions podcast. It's quite entertaining if you're not a sexual prude. I'm aware of that podcast. It's a part of the new Charlemagne the God's new podcast network called Black Effect. And I was hip to the again. This is what I do. I'm hip. That's what I spend my time doing. Staying ahead of the curve and knowing what people are doing. So they have a great podcast, and I'm not a sexual prude. I think that the world around me is more prudish about sex than I am. These folks run around here talking about twerking. I don't give a damn about no twerking. Like I said, what's the difference between twerking and salsa? One of them is looked upon as like some great thing everybody wants to do. It's the language of love, and then the other one is looked down upon. I have some of that anti-Black type ish. That's how I look at it. But I'm hip to their podcast. I think it's a great podcast. I love it. And they get real explicit. They talk about being, if you want to call it, whores. But, man, when I was in, what's funny, man, is I used to, when I was younger, I never forget this. I had a couple of dudes I used to run with. One I used to run with more than the other. And he had a friend who sometimes used to hang out with us, right? I never understand men that think like this. And I remember, I don't know where we were. We were like downtown. We had just left a club. We might have been drinking. And we was talking about the numbers that we got. And this ain't for every dude, but this does explain the way some men look at women, is that dude was like, yeah, man, this girl, she's stupid, man. I ran some game on her and she gave me the whatever. And he was talking about, how he had sex with this woman and how dumb she was for having sex with him. And I was thinking to myself, what are you saying about yourself? Like, a woman ain't dumb. Like, I'm married now, but a woman's not dumb because she decides she want to have sex with me. She lucky. I never understood this thinking from men. Like, somehow you gonna outsmart a woman into having sex with you. She doing what she want to do just like you are, period. You know what I'm saying? Have some fucking pride. But there's men out there that'll look down on women for doing the exact same thing as they're doing with them. And I'm like, dude, what are you saying about yourself? Think about this. Think. She's dumb because she slept with you. What are you saying about yourself, you idiot? It's some men with those kind of mentalities. To me, I think T.I.'s coming from the hip hop world where he's probably seen a lot of groupies and he's from the South, and being a part of that hip hop world, he's probably had all kind of women throwing themselves at him and he looks down on those women. So those are exactly the kind of women that he don't want his daughter to turn into. Right. Remember, he had it out with his, I don't know if they together now, but Tiny, remember they had it out because she was like creeping with or showing some kind of affections for Floyd Mayweather. Anybody watch that reality television series, you know what I'm talking about. He got real in his feelings about that. And then she had to check him one day, like, wait a minute, you creep with one of my friends. He was like, but she wasn't your enemy though. I mean, it was like some old double standard type ish that didn't really make any sense. So when I hear T.I. talking about his daughters, I feel like he's coming from that perspective. Like, all these thoughts out here trying to get with me, I look down on them. I'll be damned if my daughter turns into one of those deplorable women. Is there a relationship between having a good family life and then a woman being promiscuous? I think probably so. Is it 100%? No, it's not. Sometimes she's got to have it. Spike Lee joint. I mean, believe it or not, there are women out there that are into sex. It is what it is with different men. How is that any different than what a man is doing? I don't really understand it. I guess I see it on some levels, but no, not really. So let me answer the question myself. How do I look at it? Because I am raising a 15-year-old. The thought never crossed my mind. I never looked at it like that. I never thought of it like, oh, I'm trying to keep her off the stripper pole or keep her from being a thought. The worst thing in the world that my daughter can be is not sexually active. To me, sex is an eventuality for most human beings. I'm much more concerned about her tapping into her potential and living her life the way she wants to live her life. All the other stuff on the margins, I care less about. I'm more concerned about her reaching her potential, finding her spark, and living her true purpose. Because a lot of young girls, a lot of people, since we talking about young women or women in general, a lot of women get caught up with all this other stuff that society tells her that they're supposed to be focused on. And they wake up at 45 and realize I wasted my life. That would be worse to me than what my daughter decides to do in terms of her sexual choices. Because when she get 18, I don't give a damn. That's on her. Yes, I ain't sitting around worried about that. Who's sitting around thinking about that with a grown person? I don't even want to hear about it unless you got some questions for daddy or something like that. But that's the reason why I keep it 100 with my daughter about any issue, especially the adult issues. I keep it 100. Don't ask me a question if you don't know the answer, because I'm going to take the time. I'm going to do the research if necessary. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a talkie talk, and I'm going to give it to you straight. And she knows that. 100% you're going to get the truth from me on all things at all times. Okay? But that's just me as a father. So if that's how T.I. looks at it, I look at it as the time I spend with our daughter, I'm not caught up with her sexuality like that. I'm not caught up with what she's doing sexually and what she might do sexually. I just want her to make the best decision so she's healthy. You know what I'm saying? If she decides she wants to go that route, then make sure you're making healthy choices and you know how to protect yourself. That's the kind of mentality I have about it. Because again, she's 15 now. She's 3 years away from being an adult. She can do whatever she want to do. I have no say so. You think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life sitting around worrying about who she's sleeping with? No, I'm not. I've been building and will continue to build so she has a healthy self-esteem. So she knows dad loves you. She has my expectations for her. She knows how I look at things. I want her to look deep inside of herself and figure out who she is, what she likes for real, not in terms of what you got in a movie or a comic book or a school, but who are you? What kind of life do you want to live? Where do you want to live? You know what I'm saying? What's the lifestyle that you want to have for yourself in 15 years, 20 years? You know what I'm saying? What's your fucking major in college? Let's start right there. But, every father is different. And I think that fathers are shaped by their own experiences. There's some men who was out there doing women wrong their whole life and doing that and the other. So the worst thing in the world for them is for them to give birth to a daughter that grows up to be the kind of woman that they used to misuse. But I don't really have those experiences. I don't really look at women like that. You know what I'm saying? A woman's not dumb because she chooses to be with me. Actually, she's very lucky. So I don't look at it like that. You know what I'm saying? Some guys do. Oh, she dumb. She did this with me and did that. How is she dumb? She did it with you, fool. But this dude, I remember, used to blow my mind when I hear men talk like this about women. Like, what? What are you saying about yourself, fool? Oh, she dumb. She did this. She ain't even know me. And you didn't know her. So what are you saying? So I wanted to answer the question myself. That's how I look at it. But we started off talking about T.I., who is getting slammed on the internet for calling time with his daughter THOT prevention hours. And I want to talk to fathers. I want to get your thoughts. Mothers, you're allowed to chime in too. But I want to talk to fathers. What do you think? Do you agree with that? Is that how you look at it? You tell me. Let's go straight to the phones and say good morning and welcome to the show. Yo, good morning.
Brother Ivy.
What up?
You already know this, Brother Powell, where I'm going with your music. And I call it your music because you love that hip-hop stuff, man.
Yeah, I do.
Brother Ivy, come on, man. Your own daughter, a THOT, his own baby, what happened? Princess P, Pudding, baby girl, butterfly, all the cute, the beautiful stuff we used to say. This stuff is madness, man. You just don't get it. This music, man. Brother Ivy, name one top 5 song that's not about sex, drugs, violence, madness. The whole albums. You gotta feel what I be talking about. Man, this music is crazy. You can't go back, Brother Ivy, the Common, LL when we came up. I know I'm old. I got no problem saying that. Like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. I'm going all the old good pure music that our culture had. You call your own daughter a THOT, and I'm not putting Brother T.I. down, not at all. But the culture as a whole, the music as a whole, Brother Ivy, come on, man. You said you had no problem with twerking. And I know young people, I know we was young, we did things, some things was not good, some things were not smart. But look at our culture as a whole, Brother Ivy. Look at the violence. You look out there and see where it come from. It's that music. You just said, perfect example, you have a daughter, Brother Ivy. It's not even about her. It's about that guy who's going to knock on the door. What does he see her as? And how does he think about her? Does he say, oh, man, I got to protect, respect, be the best man I can be for her when I knock on the door to meet her? First of all, Brother Ivy, he's going to knock on the door and say, as he should, let me speak to your father first. Is that in their minds nowadays, Brother Ivy? Be honest. This music is madness, and we keep promoting this craziness. And they young, of course they're going to do. You can't listen to the youth. Pac said it best. And it's so funny because I listen to the older stuff that we listen to. But this new stuff is madness, and nobody's talking about, brother, why would you call your daughter a THOT? And I know what his concept, like he don't want her to be wild, he don't want to be out doing things. We get it. Like you said last time, brother, we had the exact same topic. We got a wild side. We ain't always, we got flesh. I'm not mad. We want to twerk and be wild, but it's got to be in discretion. And as a culture as a whole, brother Ivy, you just see us be the only ones go to prison as a level, least educated as a level, but I was promoted. It's the media, brother. It's the music. It's the subliminal message in their minds. I can't even walk through the building without looking at these little kids, man, trying to fight each other, yelling and cursing. Like, where did they get that from? It's the music, Brother Ivy. I'm telling you, it's the music, and we got to get hold to what the messages that we putting out here for these young people. For him to call his daughter a THOT, man, come on, man. Brother Ivy, you would never use that word around your mother, man. You know what she would do to your father? Come on. They wouldn't let you call your sister that or them that. Come on, man. It's just madness to me, man. It just get madder in our community, and no leadership is saying, guess what, y'all? It's the music. That's where they get these messages from. It's the music. You don't call your baby. I love my daughter. Daddy's Rini Beanie. I still call her Rini, my princess. She already grown, but you still my princess? Dot? Come on, man. And Brother Ivy, as soon as somebody call your daughter these words, oh, you know what? You just gotta be honest. He can't call her no B or this, I don't want to use these language. You know where I'm going, the H word and all these words to your daughter. You gave her name and you gave her respect with that name and you raised her that way. Ain't nobody knock on your door and call your daughter to see these words and you be sitting here talking about it's the culture or it's hip hop. Man, Nico, get out my house. That's what you're gonna tell him. You know, you gotta use some respect. Open the door for her. Treat her right. Respect her. Call my daughter beautiful, wonderful, marvelous. The stuff that you call her. You know what I'm saying? And my son too. I wish he would come in there and call his sister that. Man, he for real. Or his girlfriend. I never had it. I didn't raise him that way. It's the 3 laws of this world. Holy, healthy, and wealthy. That's what I teach my babies. And don't you come in here with that madness. And don't you go out there disrespecting and use these kind of words and these terminologies. You know, and it's not bad for our culture. You know, like you said, but like we got differences. We all gonna have differences. But man, to me, I feel like I'm the only one. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, Brother Ivy. And don't nobody want to talk about it. To me, in my personal opinion, that music is worse than crack and pork, whatever you are. It just gets worse and worse for me. And I ain't mad. You know, they're gonna do what they do, but it gotta be limitations. In my personal opinion, Brother Ivy. On that note, man, I don't understand how you like the music, brother. But you know, we all different. It's all about changes. I can't see it. I'm to the point we play gospel, period, or old school. If it was made after the 80s, don't cut it on. Because the music's getting madder and madder, man. And Brother Ivy, you know this. The only rappers, it's funny, the only rappers they keep pushing is not Common, LL, you know, Pro Righteous Teachers, X-Clan. You know where I be going. But you just don't come on, man. Support what few brothers just like me saying. It just gets madder and madder, brother. You know it. You listen to it. Come on, man. Sickness to me. All right, Brother Ivy. Nice rapping with you, man.
All right, man. Take it easy. Nice rapping with you. That's Brother Powell. He said, you know, T.I.'s wrong to even refer to his daughter as a thought. Now, he wasn't, just to be fair, he wasn't calling his daughter a thought. He was saying that he looks at father time as being thought prevention time, or thought prevention hours is what he said, to be specific. I just missed a call from a 766 number. Call me back. I'll put you straight on 766. Please take a second to like and in particular share today's show. Okay, we're getting a call back right now from that 766 number. Let's go straight to it. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan Ivey. This is DJ Stank. How you doing, man?
What up, DJ Stank? It's been a minute, brother. How are you?
It's been a minute, man. I'm great. How are you doing?
I cannot complain, man. Better than I deserve.
I just heard the last caller, and I totally disagree. It's every generation's obligation to hate the next generation's music. You can look back to the history of time and music. Every next generation hates that next generation's music. It's your responsibility as parents to raise your damn daughters. If you let the streets or whoever raise your daughters, then I guess that music makes a big difference. You know, my parents let me listen to whatever I wanted to listen to, and I turned out pretty good. I got 2 straight-A students at home that know how to act and know what to accept. Hopefully don't know crazy dude come to the house. They don't bring no crazy dude to my house that I have to end up burying in the basement. But, you know, I'm just saying the music ain't going to determine who my girls are or what they accept from anybody. I need them to be free. I need them like yours to, you know, become the best who they can be. But I don't think the music has nothing to do with that. And that was pretty much all I had to say, man.
Appreciate the call, DJ Stank. Take it easy, man. Yep, don't be a stranger. Listen, I respect Brother Powell always. Between those 2 calls, I lean more toward DJ Stank. Yeah, music is an influencer. Obviously it is. It's a part of the youth culture, just like it was when you were a youth. It's a part of Black culture, obviously. But the biggest influence is mom and dad in the home. That's the biggest influence. We set the tone. I set the tone for what my son and my daughter should expect from relationships with how I deal with their mother. I set the tone on how my son should conduct himself by what he's watching me. The boy be watching me like a hawk. He be watching me times when I don't even know. He's watching me. My daughter's watching me. They're picking up on how daddy interacts. What's daddy's standard? What's mommy's standard? That's a bigger influencer than music. At the same time, my daughter has done things and will continue to do things. My son will do things that are outside of what our standard is. That's just youth. That's just being young. I'm not going to flip out because they do something. I'm going to deal with it in accordance of how I'm raising them, and that's it. Again, as I said, to keep it back on topic here, you know, I've never even looked at it like that. I've never even thought of it like that. Like T.I. is getting slammed for calling time with his daughter thought prevention hours. I never even looked at it like that. The thought never even crossed my mind. Like, I'm stopping her from being a thought. It never crossed my mind. I'm spending time with her because I like to spend time with her. I'm spending time with her because I'm her father. That's it. I'm spending time with her because you got to spend time with your kids. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what they like. And my daughter is my movie buddy. I mean, there's so many things about her that's like me that I like because I love me some Nate. Love me some me. You looking at a man that talking to my mirror like I love you so much. That is so true. I'm a Virgo all the way through. I love me some me. I think very highly of me. So when I see me and her, I love it. I'm just being real with you. Sometimes I look at her, she looks like me. We got a very similar skin tone. And I just love it. I love that reflection of her in me and me in her. Love it. So I cultivate it. You know, what she's going to do sexually is her choice. Hopefully the self-esteem and the things that the seeds that I plant will grow, and she'll make healthy choices based upon a healthy self-esteem. But ultimately, she gonna be grown in 3 years, and whatever she do, what she do. I ain't got no control over that. You know, I hit her with that game. That's it. And I'm not gonna obsess on that. I guess some fathers obsess about what their daughters do sexually. I don't. I ain't sitting around thinking about that at all. Not one bit. Now I want her to be whole. I won't use the word wholesome because that's like in the eye of the beholder. I want her to be healthy. I want her to have a healthy self-esteem. I want her to know her self-worth. If I do those things and focus on that, then the other things that she do, well, you know, that's on her. That'll be on her. I don't really have no control over that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no control over it. I'm sorry. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. Thank you so much for all the shares this morning. I appreciate it, man. Y'all standing up for your boy. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, a couple things. If you haven't already done so, I got a Facebook page called The Nathan Ivey Show page. I was running the show every morning straight from that page. But I chose to run it straight from CDM's page. And because I wanted to make sure that all of the podcasts were being funneled so that we could all share each other's audiences, and it is working. Speaking of which, coming up today, you got Midday Juice. It's going to be at a special time today at 12 noon. So typically it's at 1 p.m. Today is going to be at 12 noon, Midday Juice, Ask Ashley. And then typically on Tuesdays, I just got a message here where it says I've been on the air. I got to double check with Fast Pitch. You know, she does the Valley Service podcast at 7 p.m. I got a message saying she's going to be out of town. So I got to read that before I can tell you what's really going on. Oh, thank you so much. It's all good. Appreciate it. That's the wifey. So that's just my take on it. You know, you may have a different take, and I promised I would play the audio for you. So let me do that so we can all be on the same page. Then I've got another topic I want to get into. Listen to this.
And he amassed a small fortune. My daddy had $1 million or $2 million. And
hold on. I'm way too far into. I'm too far into it. Hold on. Let me back up here. All right.
She believe in or what she stand on. Like I feel like that molded me to be like more like I think deeper about a lot of stuff.
Right.
Like you can't really put the wool over my eyes for real.
Right. And you know, I think that is a level of wisdom and maturity that you don't necessarily see a lot, or it's not expected coming from somebody your age. And we've known each other a long time.
Right, a real long time.
Yeah, like, you know, I think when you dropped your first video, your very first video, I started reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And
I asked you for $1 million. And you told me, nah, because what I'm going to have to take in return ain't even going to be worth it. And I stayed independent. I probably would have signed a deal if it wasn't for you. I probably wouldn't even have like what I got right now, for real.
But I mean, but that made me feel good. You know, I had the same conversation with Thug. The same conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, bro, if I give you $1 million, I'm going to take 10 times as much, because, you know, that's just the way the game go. If you want to maintain ownership of your art and equity in your art, you got to go through those tough times in the beginning. Can't accept no upfront money and cushion your blow.
Oh, God.
You got to goddamn go ahead and get it out the mud the same way you would anything else if you want to stand on, you know, on your principles as a boss.
Yeah.
And you did that. And I always told you, hey, man, don't worry. The money gonna come.
Yeah, you did, for sure.
And look like it made it.
Yeah, that shit came. That shit still coming, for sure.
Hey, man, another thing, man, you know, another way we know each other, we also we play poker.
Yeah.
We play poker. We sit down and play poker, man. You know what I'm saying? Extended hours in the night and the day. We up all night, all times of the night, man, just playing poker, trading money back and forth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes he wins, sometimes I win, sometimes Doc.
Hold on. I want to get to the part when they're talking about what's relevant to what we talk about this morning. Hold on 1 second here. Hold on. These mofos talking about all kind of stuff. I thought I had it queued up. That's the wrong timestamp. Give me 1 second. I'll bring the right timestamp up. I don't want to hear them talking about poker. That's not what my interest is this morning. I want to talk about something else. In specific, I want to get to the part where, you know, he talks about, you know, the whole THOT prevention hours. I think we got it here in a second here. Give me 1 second. We'll pull it up here so we can play it for you, so you can hear it for yourself. Give me 1 second. I'll work on that. 513-873-7134. If you want to share your thoughts. Let me go back to your comments. I'll attend to that in a second. Let me see. See people going back and forth. Hey, what's up, Kashara? Is he focusing that type of attention on his daughter only? I am curious as to how he classifies his time with his son. Me too. I hope he is teaching his children that irresponsible sexual activity can lead to children being born into difficult, dysfunctional situations. It's more than about image and about public perception. What's up, Kashara? I had the same thought. Like, if you call spending time with your daughter THOT prevention hours, what do you call spending time with your son? Now, again, we had an earlier call who said, look, you know, a father should be able to name the time he spends with his kids, whatever he wants to. I agree with that 100%. 100%. But I am curious about that, Kashara. Good morning to you. Glenn writes, I like his approach over T.I.'s approach, but that's just me. Okay. Janine writes, I had not heard of the term THOT. Just researched and found this. THOT slang for that hoe over there has been adapted from Ku Klux Klan organization that was used during slavery to refer to black women. Is that right? Is that right? Drops having fun with some of the lady choppers who are Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Sean writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Deshauna writes, good morning, Nathan, and everyone stay safe all. Good morning to you. She writes, $600 is not enough. Duke and Water will eat that right away. Oh, you already know it. You already know. $600, that's gone. But, you know, it'll still take care of something. So, you know, it'll still be some relief. I think what's just as important is that you also have, you know, some of the relief for renters assistance as well. So that'll be a part of this COVID-19 thing. Again, keep your eyes on the politics of these stimulus packages. I read an article in the Grio within the last 24 hours. It was hella interesting. It's written by a dude named John H. Jackson. At least that's the name of the author. The title is "The Time for a Federal Racial Equity Stimulus Package is Now." Racial equity stimulus package. I like the way that sounds. Not reparations, but and understanding that melanated folks, that non-white folks are being hit differently by this because of, the racism in this country for years and years and years. Greg writes, tuning in for a short time before I got to make a move. Speaking of making moves, I guess props are out to a member of city council who is now running. And I said I would talk a lot about politics unless it was something that was important. And again, I think this is important. So I'll talk about it maybe for 5 or 10 minutes here, but I throw it out there in case you haven't seen it. But another person has thrown their name into the hat to run for the mayor of Cincinnati. And this time, it's Chris Seelbach, white male Democrat. He is now announced that, and again, 2 weeks ago, he put it out there and said that he was doing like an exploratory committee. He was exploring the idea. Within the last 24 hours, I posted it that he's announced it on social media that, in fact, that he is going to be running for mayor. So let's think about who's running for mayor now. We have Chris Seelbach, white male Democrat. We got Raphael Prophet, black male Democrat. We got Wendell Young, black male Democrat. We got Kelly Prather, white female Democrat. We have David Mann, white male Democrat. That's 5 people so far. We got Cecil Thomas. Did I say Cecil Thomas? That's 6 people, black male Democrat. We got 6 people in this mayoral runoff. It's going to happen in March. We got 6 people running for mayor. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think the way it works is the top 2 go forward, and then they'll run in November of 2021. If I'm wrong about that, please set me straight because I don't want to give out bad information. Yeah, so what do you think about the fact that Chris Seelbach has now added his name? And again, I mean, the way I read it is a couple of ways. Number one, with all these Democrats, and again, you could see John Pepper. I've even heard Aftab Pureval. I mean, you talk about a crowded race, but you know what? I like it. It should be that way. We need multiple choices. Okay, this might be good for the community. But this says something about the way that people looked at PG Sittenfield's campaign. Like the fact that now that, again, he's still in the race. So I got to say PG Sittenfield. So he's still in the race, although, I mean, let's be real here. It ain't looking that, what's really going to happen here? Even if he beats these charges, the public perception, I think, will be against him. So I got to mention this. So that's 7 people, I think, now running for mayor in the city of Cincinnati. You got the primary coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if you see PG step away from the mayor's race coming up soon. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But just think about that. You have all these people that once he stepped out are saying they're going to step in. That's it. That says something about how they view his choice, his chances. And also says something about what they may have been thinking while he was running. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's quite interesting. But what do you think? What do you think? So you got 7 people. No, I'll put it in. You got 7 people running for mayor. And now the newest name is Chris Seelbach. What do you think about Chris Seelbach's politics? You know, what I can remember and recall about his politics, I don't have a problem with his politics, quite honestly. I mean, he's supported some things that I'm with. He supported some things that I'm with, quite honestly. And we'll have to wait and see again who we talked to. We talked to Raphael Prophet on the show. I think that's it. I think that's the only, I mean, Kelly Prather, of course, she's a familiar voice. And the open invitation, I'll secure that. But, you know, if they're willing to, you know, my plan is to talk to everybody. I want to talk to all the candidates. I want to know why they're running and what we can expect from you. Quite interesting. Yep. That's right. I know there's a lot of people in Cincinnati that don't like Chris Seelbach. We'll have to see. Jordan writes, is it expensive to maintain a trust? That's an excellent question, Jordan, that I'm just seeing. Had I read that, I would have asked Dr. Edmond that question. Adele writes, what do you think about Dr. Edmond? Would you like to hear more from him? You can tell me what you think. Daryl writes, trust and wills and POAs is part of wealth building and establishing generational wealth. Deborah writes, who do you recommend to help set up a trust? Another excellent question. Again, I'm just seeing this right now. So many questions coming in that sometimes I miss them. Daryl writes, cheaper than going to probate court and maintaining how your assets are distributed. Tiff writes, finance should be taught in schools as well. I agree, but the schools don't have time for it. Schools don't have time for it. That's why it goes to after school programs, before school programs, which of course, you know, I used to be in that world. And I'm very proud to say that, you know, when I was in that world, when I was in charge of budgets, when I had the money to spend on programming, I spent it on programming that was forward thinking. That's why my program got so many accolades, because we were forward thinkers. And we were recognized nationally and locally for the innovations in the after school program that I was a director of. And I remember there was a black female. I can't recall her name. I think we're still Facebook friends. I can't recall her name. I ran into her not too long ago at the grocery store of all places during COVID-19. Beautiful sister in terms of beautiful mind. And she had a small business in which she had developed programming for teenage girls, and in particular, you know, at black girls. And we worked together and put her program in place in the high school I worked at. And I was just so in love with the program. It was like a 6-week program, and she brought in all the tools and resources, and she was teaching these young girls, these high schoolers, about just that thing, Tiff, about personal finances, wealth building. And she had turned it into a game that they were playing. Think of like Monopoly, only it had more real life examples. And the whole point of it was to try to strengthen in some cases, to educate in other cases, you know, these teenagers about financial awareness. And I was just super, super impressed by the work that she did. You know, by the way, that's how I met TT. I met TT because he was doing programs with youth, and we ended up working together. He ended up doing a program for, you know, our program that I was in charge of. And he did an excellent job. That's why I say when I saw his passion for our youth with my very own eyes. So, you know what I'm saying? The CPS does need that, but they don't have the time and the money. And that's the reason why I say after school and before school programs. And we have to support politicians that support money for after school and before school programs. It's so important, because there's only so much time and money that CPS has. And that's where the partners of CPS come in to extend the learning. And in some cases to do things that, you know, they wish they could do, but they just don't have the money to do it. Yeah, people think the CPS is rolling in dollars, and that ain't true. That ain't true. Letty writes, great morning, Nathan Ivey and the Chavez. Hey, Letty, great morning to you as well, and thank you for becoming a Patreon. I appreciate you. Your support 100% goes right back into CDM as we build out this platform. And again, you have a bird's eye view as to what's happening next, upcoming podcasts, some of my plans, not all my plans, because what I've learned is that you can't share everything, even among, you know, your listeners, because people will run out there and try to get ahead of you. But what I've also learned is sometimes that's just the way things are supposed to be. It is what it is. So you can get a heads up on, you know, what's coming next with CDM by becoming a patron and, you know, join the mission to amplify Black voices and build independent media. Cinnamon writes, excellent, informative guest, Nathan. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, if you like them, I'll invite them back. And I'm working on you're building up a roster of familiar faces and voices that have expertise in a variety of different areas to come on the show on a regular basis to speak about things that are going on. Speaking of which, I got a really excellent guest that I am preparing for right now. Hold on, I want to give you the heads up for this. Yeah, I think you're going to like this. Very interesting guest. If you live in the state of Ohio, and in particular, if you live in Columbus and you're someone who kind of watches what's happening in the media, you're going to definitely want to keep your head open, keep your eyes open for this guest. But there's a brand new book that was published titled Walking the Thin Black Line. Walking the Thin Black Line, Confronting Racism in the Columbus Division of Police, as in Columbus, Ohio. So this sister wrote a book about her experiences as a police officer in Columbus, Ohio, and she'll be my guest very, very soon. Look for that very, very soon. I'm reading her book now. As soon as I finish reading the book and complete, my questions, I'm going to invite her on the show. So I would look for that. What's today? Tuesday. It could be this week. It depends on how today and tomorrow go. It could be Thursday, but more likely to be early next week. It's called Thin Blue Line. I'm sorry, it's titled Walking the Thin Black Line, Confronting Racism in the Columbus Division of Police, which that interview is going to kick off something else that I want to do here in terms of building platforms for our community here. But I'll tell you about it really, really soon. Again, if you're a Patreon, you'll know about it before anybody else. It's very simple. Good morning to you. Sean writes, I created my own basement gym. Bravo. I love it, man. Listen, don't waste this COVID-19 time. This is valuable time. I know plenty of people that are starting businesses. They're doing all kind of beautiful and creative things. I applaud it and support it 100%. This is the time in which you should be doing it. Do it right now. Do it right now. And again, if nobody else supports you, I support you. If nobody else understands you, I understand you. If nobody else thinks you can be successful, I believe you can be successful. I'm just here to spread positivity as much as possible. You can do it. You got an idea for a business? Do it. Make it happen. Rachel writes, good morning, family in the choppers. Hooday to all the Squealer fans. Squealer fans. I love that. I love that. Squealer fans. Nat writes, Drip was making sense until he said Boosie. Drip. Woody writes, good morning, brother Nathan and the choppers. Good morning to you. Dale writes, sounds like he's trying real hard to get Patreons dropped. Woody writes, your opinion is nuts dropped on head. Y'all going hard to drop. Just posted some things on my Facebook page. That's from Maurice. Lemmy writes, life expectancy for black males is approximately 73 years old. Deshauna writes, salsa is a classy sexy. See, salsa is classy sexy. Twerking is ghetto. You moving your hips though. I had a caller yesterday. Because this issue is just gonna keep coming up. I called a caller yesterday. She's like, well, Nate, I disagree with you about something. And I'm like, well, what's the problem with twerking? She's like, well, you're moving your hips. And I thought, well, in salsa you move your hips. What's the difference? Oh, well, I see that differently, people started to say. I can't remember what she said to it, but people see that differently. So salsa dancing is different. That's sexy. That's respectful. But twerking, oh, no, that's ghetto. That's beneath you. That's because white supremacy got some of y'all folks self-loathing. It's convinced you that your own culture is the problem. I refuse to believe that. Hip hop is the worst thing ever. No, it's not. There was no hip hop around when they burned down Black Wall Street. I'll say it again. There was no hip hop around when they burned down Black Wall Street. White supremacy predates hip hop. So how is hip hop our problem? That's white supremacy telling you that what you created ain't good enough. Meanwhile, the others ran out and took control and capitalized our culture, which is part of the problem. I'm just saying. That damn hip hop, meanwhile, look at all the top executives for years and years and years until most recently. It was all white or Jewish. So, that was black folks' problems. Black folks didn't invest in hip hop. We should have took over the culture and became the P. We need more P. Diddy's and Master P's and people that's running the table. But we didn't do that. We turned our back on it like, oh, this culture is going to go away. It's so funny, man, speaking of hip hop, because I completely disagree with Brother Powell on that. Hip hop is not our problem. It ain't the music. It's the people. Ain't no damn music. You show me a kid where the music is influencing them, and I'm going to show you a kid whose mom and dad are not involved in their life enough. They're just not there enough. Get them busy. Make your kids get busy. They'll be too busy to be into the music like that. But again, the other thing about it is music and youth culture go hand in hand. There's no way that you can extract the two. It is what it is. You got to take the good with the bad. And he said something that was, Brother Powell said, so what about the top 10 song? What about Jesus Walks? Jesus Walks was a top 10 song for weeks and weeks and weeks in the charts. It's got, you know, some of them Christian values. So it's not the music, it's the type of music. And if you turn to your commercial radio station looking for salvation in terms of music, use a damn fool. That's not what they're doing. They're selling popular music. They're not selling independent artists unless an independent artist goes super hot. They're not selling you conscious music unless the conscious music goes super hot and hits the Billboard charts. They're selling you popular music. Completely different. I'll say it again. I don't want my hip hop to be all conscious. I don't want all music to be gospel music. That shit'll be boring as hell. I like some gangster rap sometime. I don't have a problem with the WAP video. I love the WAP video, actually. I have no problem with it because I am a heterosexual man. It's right up my alley. When I'm in the mood for it, I turn it on. When I'm not, I turn it off. The difference between me and a lot of people is that when it comes to hip hop, I have a full repertoire. You know what I'm saying? I'm into everything. I mean, I could tell you a couple albums right now you probably never heard of. You'll probably love it. You'll love it. Never heard of it before because it's not on the radio. Lemmy writes, Black female life expectancy approximately 78 years old. Rachel writes, financial gains doesn't mean you are a great father. T.I. and Snoop need work on their parenting skills. Well, you know what, Rachel? I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not close enough to T.I. and Snoop to say what kind of father they are. I don't know. Like, I know people called out Snoop because, and again, he deserved to be called out. I mean, how you gonna criticize WAP and you made porn videos? Yeah, I ain't talking about music videos. I'm talking about adult porn. Yeah, and again, I have no problem with porn. Do what you do. But I mean, you can't sit around talking about, oh, a woman should be left to desired, and here you were selling porn. Come on, man, just tap out on that conversation. But to be fair to Snoop, he was asked a question about it. So they asked him a question and he answered it. So I give him, whether he comes across as a hypocrite or not, he was asked the question. He wasn't just out here on some soapbox. The woman asked him a question. It is what it is. T.I., I'm going to assume he's a great father. I've got no other evidence otherwise. Mrs. Love Being Black writes, yeah, they was on Red Table Talk they back together. Is that right? Rachel writes, you talking double standards in our culture. There are a lot of double standards. Kashar writes, thank you, Nate. You see your daughter as a productive human being, not a hapless girl. Yeah. I want her to grow up to be the very best that she can be. She'll probably tell you that I'm rough on her. There she go right there. She can hear me. She'll probably say I'm tough on her. Because I am. I got high expectations in terms of her reaching her own potential and finding out what she wants to do. Not what I want her to do, not what her mother wants her to do, not what Christianity wants her to do, not what the peanut gallery wants her to do, but what she want to do. And I don't care what it is. Go do what you want to do. But I'm consistent. And when I married my wife, it was way before we have kids. When we got married, we sat down and I told her, I don't care where you go in this world, you got a partner. If I got to move to Greenland because what you're searching for is in Greenland, then we're going to be in Greenland. I'm your partner for life. Go do you. You ain't got to cook. You ain't got to clean. I can bring her right now, she'll tell you. I can do that for myself. My mother raised me to be self-sufficient. I got that. You ain't got to cook. You ain't got to clean. The only thing I need you to do, wifey, is to go do you. Whatever that is, just go be your best self, find your spark, find what you want to do in life. And no matter where that takes you, you got me. That's it. That's it. You ain't got to cook for me because I like to cook my own food. You ain't got to clean for me because I like to clean my own clothes. All you got to do is go find you. And that can be the most difficult thing in the world to do. The hardest thing in the world to do is to find yourself. Can I get an amen? It's the most difficult thing in the world to do. And I think it's even more difficult in today's world because there's so much chatter, the internet and TikTok and movies and Disney Plus and Versus. There's so many distractions that we don't really spend a lot of time figuring out who we are. Because to figure out who you are, it takes quiet time. I won't call it meditation, but it takes quiet time. Turning everything off and just sitting with your thoughts in your own head. That's hard as hell to do for a lot of people. Have you done that lately? Turn the phone off, turn everything off, no screens, and you sit there and you think. And it might take hours, not at one time, although you can do that as well. But it might take hours. Those hours might amount to days and weeks for you to really figure out, to hear your voice, because there's a voice inside of you. But it's so much noise and layers and trauma and all kind of stuff that we can't even hear it, unfortunately. A lot of people get to 65 and it's like, I hear a voice. It's the voice that's been there the whole time. Don't waste your life doing that. That's hard to do. What I'm saying is easy to say, but it's very hard to do. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nate.
Hey, good morning.
This is Deborah Nesbitt.
Hey, what's up, Deborah?
Welcome. Know I got something about to say about this Snoop and T.I. thing.
Okay, go ahead.
But see, before Snoop and T.I., I posted about this. I posted about it on Dianetta's page. We need to talk about Jay-Z. We need to talk about Jay-Z and how he treated Beyonce. We need to talk about Jay-Z and how he cheated on Beyonce and caused her to have multiple miscarriages, quite publicly, to the point where she sang about her pain publicly on stage. And then she did the Lemonade album and he did the 444 Effect. And he has this whole thing where he wants to act like he learned how to treat Beyonce suddenly, because now that he has a daughter, now he understands how he should have treated Beyonce all this time. This has nothing to do with men wanting women to be their best. This has nothing to do with that. You said, he wants T.I. and Snoop Dogg. You don't know what type of fathers they are. Maybe it's not about Snoop Dogg, but we can tell by what their public commentary is about women. Hip hop has a long history of misogyny, of not liking women or treating women as less than. Okay, fine. And it's partly about sex, but it's partly about power. And this whole thing of these men, not all men, but these particular men, because I had somebody tell me the other day, you're a man hater for posting this. I'm not a man hater. I'm not talking about all men, because some men get it, but these men don't. They've treated women horribly all their lives. Snoop Dogg, you got freaks in the morning getting it on, till 6 in the morning and they ain't leaving, and all the stuff he's had some pretty songs, some songs that are pretty risque and vulgar. He's really doesn't have license to talk about WAP. He does not have it. And now that he's supposed to be the OG elder statesman of hip hop, he suddenly has something to say. No, it doesn't work that way. You don't get to go back and be Bill Cosby and tell people to pull their pants up. You don't get to be that guy. You just don't. And so T.I., don't get me started on T.I. He's so immature. We're not even going to start with the whole shootout on I-75. That's where I begin with my dislike of T.I. and his irresponsibility, getting people literally killed and never really taking real responsibility for that. Then he's going to publicly, all these years later, we've gotten over that and T.I. is so mature. Now he's publicly stating about his daughter's virginity and how he takes her to the doctor to get her hymen checked, which is no true marker of virginity, by the way. I'm telling everybody this publicly. Girls can break their hymen playing sports or riding a bike or anything. So having an intact hymen is not a marker of virginity, people. But T.I. publicly put his daughter's sexuality and body status on Front Street. Who does that? Who does that? He doesn't own her. Jay-Z doesn't own Blue Ivy. Snoop Dogg doesn't own his daughters. You don't own your daughter's sexuality. You don't. You protect your daughters physically, but you don't get to protect their choices. And they're policing their daughters. They're not protecting them. And they're pronouncing ownership over something that doesn't belong to them. And it's a horrible thing to do to your children publicly. You just don't do it. So these men are coming at a place of of lack of respect for women. It's not, and they think that it's a place of possession, not a place of love. It's just not. It's horrible, and you just don't do that. What T.I. is doing is awful to his kids. I mean, she shut down her Twitter feed, or she shut down part of her social media, and she like distanced herself from her dad for a while, because how are you gonna talk about my virginity publicly like this? It's just wrong, mate. It's just wrong. So
all right,
they're really misogynistic. It's really toxic. This is not okay. And that's the place where we need to come at it from men's attitudes about women. And you all need to evolve. The guy who called me a woman hater the other day, I told him, I said, you're like my 4-year-old child. When I love this little kid down to his dirty socks and drawers. I mean, he is my heart, my love. But the minute I put him in the corner for smacking the piss out of his brother, he goes to me, you hate me. You don't love me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course I love you. He's 4 years old. He's adorable. He's my baby. But the problem is I have a higher expectation for his behavior that he just refuses to meet. So when we tell you, Black men, that we don't like your behavior, don't come back with, we hate you, we don't love you. We love you, Black men. But we have a higher standard for your behavior that you all are simply refusing to meet. And you're going to have to evolve and grow and do the work and the reading and get on our level. But stop blaming it on us. It's not about us. It's about y'all. And that's my sermon for today.
All right, Deborah. Well, thank you for the call. You got me a lot to unpack. So let me get to unpacking. I appreciate you. That's Deborah. She said a whole lot, and I want to see if I can remember everything she said. And I think we got a call coming in from Texas, and call me back on. I'll bring you straight on. So let me unpack what Deborah had to say. So there was so much there. Let me start with what she said about Jay-Z. Some of this is a little outside my knowledge. Maybe I knew and I forgot. I didn't know the whole he calls her to have a miscarriage thing. That's unfortunate. But I would say whether it be men or women, but let me talk from a male perspective. We got to allow people to mature. Black women are they the first to cape up and say, well, I was younger then. Same thing with a man. Believe it or not, a man can mature. I know it's hard to believe. Is it fair to hold a man to the same standard that on his actions at 50 as he was at 21? I mean, it depends on the circumstances. Everybody matures and grows. You see things differently. Now, she said something about Jay-Z saying that when he had a daughter, he saw things differently. Well, that's point in fact. When I had my wife and I had a daughter, I started to see things differently because now I had a daughter. You can't have a certain perspective until you actually are having that real experiences. It does change you a bit. It does make you look at the world differently. It does make you look at women differently. And I think that's just facts. I think that there's nothing wrong with saying it. That's called facts. It's called maturity and experience. Having a daughter for a man will make you look, in many cases, women differently. It'll make you look back and think about how you treated women. It might even make you look at your wife differently. That can happen. That's a real thing. My wife and I were married for 5 years before we had now medium Buddha. I already loved and respected her, but yeah, I'm looking at her a little bit differently now because we have a daughter together, and I'm seeing the process of this little person, this little female human becoming and growing up. I got a different responsibility. I got a different role in life. That will change you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just like having a child is going to change a woman. I don't know, but women have to tell me. There's probably women out there that have a son, and it may make them look at men differently, for better or for worse. So I think that's facts on facts on facts. What else did she say? It was just so much. I had to unpack it here. I can't say I disagree with everything she said. There were some things that really rang that sound true to me. Since she said it last, it's just stuck in my memory though. But that last thing she said about men and women and get on your level. I mean, this idea that black women in general on a higher level than black men is some of that BS y'all getting from the magazines. I don't see that. I don't see it. Some are, some aren't. I think it's an individual basis. In general, you got black women out there, they got all kind of problems, just like you got black men out there, they got all kind of problems. They might be similar, they might be dissimilar. It depends. And what I would say to kind of flip what Deborah said is, when you hear a black man criticizing a black woman, don't take it as man hating. He is just sharing his observation. If that's true for a woman, it's got to be true for a man. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be true for a man as well. But I hear what you're saying. In terms of T.I., I'm glad he's in his daughter's life, because we got too many fathers that's not in their daughter's life at all to make any kind of observation. So that's a good thing, right? She talked about you don't own your daughter's sexuality. I think that's quite interesting, because I agree with it, but there's people we've had a conversation about, like, young people. Like, for instance, we talked about D Wade. So D Wade just posted within the last 24 hours on social media another post in which he's doubling down and standing by his son, now daughter, Zaya. I think from Zaire to Zaya. And people have criticized, men and women have criticized D Wade, like, oh, not in my house. You ain't gonna do that until you get 18. Well, if that's not ownership of sexuality, I don't know what is. So some of these same people, I'm not saying you, Deborah, but I want to make a larger point here. Some of these same women who will be like, oh, well, you don't own my sexuality, as parents will claim that they own the sexuality of their kids. If their kids say their kid is transgender, all of a sudden you're going to tell them who they going to be. Now you own it, right? Oh, you ain't going to be transgender in my house. If that ain't ownership of sexuality, I don't know what it is. But when it's a woman, oh, you ain't got no ownership. I mean, come on now. Let's be consistent with it. I'll say it again. I got no problem with D Wade. I got no problem with T.I. I got no problem with Snoop. So what Snoop said, a lot of people missed. What Snoop said was, I guess, wholesome. He said, look, I think, a lady should have virtue, and it should be, not something you show to everybody until you're going to share with somebody and all this kind of stuff. I mean, he said the right things via his daughter. But then women want to throw his past up in his face. It's like, maybe the brother learned his lesson. I had certain thoughts when I was 21 and did certain things when I was 21 that now, looking back, I wouldn't do. Should I not say that because I did it? No, it make no damn sense. Man, listen, give me somebody with some experiences every day and any day. That's far more valuable than somebody with no experience, in my opinion. Now, it depends what the experience is, but I'm just saying, life is for living. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have regrets. You're going to do things you look back and be like, why I do that? That's called maturity. That's called life, depending on what it is. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully some mistakes are worse than others, but it is what it is. So, I ain't hating on Jay-Z because now he's nearly 50 and he looks at his wife differently. I mean, maybe he broke his wife's heart when he cheated on her and he saw the music and was like, damn, I'm effed up. I ain't going to do that again. Okay, it's called growth. Let that brother live. Same thing with Snoop. Maybe Snoop was making the doggy style music back in the day. I'm not really into his music these days, so I haven't listened to a lot of what he's making now. So I don't know if he's making the same kind of music he was back then. If so, that's different. I don't know. I know he went through his reggae phase, and then he went through his whole I'm no more, I'm the only make wholesome music phase. I'm not sure where he is right now. I don't really know. And you have to tell me. I'm not really into Snoop's music, his newer music. When I listen to Snoop, typically it's like some of his older stuff from like Drop It Like It's Hot and then going back to Doggy Style and the Death Row days. I don't really listen to a whole lot of his. He had a couple little cuts when he was cameos, which was really dope, I thought. I don't remember him being like overly sexual, but it is what it is. You have to tell me on that. But let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Nate, man? Good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Glenn. Welcome.
Hey, great show today, man. I've been in and out, so I sorry I missed Deborah's call. Only heard your summation of what she had to say. But I listened early in the show when you brought up T.I. and he was talking about, thought prevention. Hell, I can't even say the word.
Yeah, thought prevention.
That's just how much it never entered my mind when the time I spent with my daughter. And, Nate, I got a 21-year-old daughter, man. And, she just got her first apartment. I think she's been in there like maybe 5 months. I've paid the rent off for like 2 of the 5 already, which I've always told her I'm not going to let her drown, but she has to at least show me that she can swim. So, dog pedal, roll over on your back, do something, but you got to show me that you're putting in the effort. But I'll say this. What I found, Nate, I don't know if this has been the case with you, but I've talked to other fathers, and this has been the case. When you have a daughter, it changes your whole perspective about women. And maybe, there's a lot of good brothers out there. So I'm not saying, we went from pimps to being, Bill Cosby or nothing like that. But my appreciation for what women go through, what they have to deal with, and quite honestly, Nate, and I always say it when I do get myself together, I'm going to have this segment called I'm Kind of Grown, or I'm Telling the Truth Now. But a lot of my thinking when it comes to my daughter is to try to avoid a 21-year-old Glenn back in the day. I'm just going to keep it real. Because like you said, the things that you did when you were 21, you're not doing them today. But now, you talk to a man, my parents used to go on vacation every summer. As soon as they leave, we having like MTV crib type, pool parties and jacuzzi party type stuff. That's what was going on. And I found myself trying to keep her away from the 21-year-old Glenn type. And there's this Facebook post I remember, friend of mine, woman, a black woman, she put on there, she said, if you had to go back, would you let your daughter date a young you? And, and engage your response by whatever, emoji you put up. And a lot of guys, they were giving like the wonder face, the scrunch face, I don't know. Like, and, that's just real. But again, and, when I think about my daughter, I call her my boo bear. And believe me, man, she's grown. She thinks she's grown, looking just like her mama. But she's just as independent as her mother. And I have all the faith in the world. She's a smart girl. She's very pretty. And, I worry about talking that crap to my daughter. But I've been telling Erin since she was young. And, this is the same little girl that came to me when she was like in the 3rd or 4th grade age. She said, Daddy, she says, is it cool to be smart or is it smart to be cool? I would stop like for, half a millisecond. I'm like, honey, it's cool to be smart. I tell my son, I was like, it's cool to be a smart girl. I'm like, women like intelligent men. He's in the, everybody trying to be cool and, they want to wear the nice gear and I've spent some freaking money on some Kevin Durant shoes and all that crap. I'm unlike my parents where it seemed like I had to work like a whole summer as a Hebrew slave just to get a skateboard, a skateboard for my pop. I go out there and I get Miles and what he needs because, he's a good kid. He makes good grades. But I just wanted to get that perspective on being a dad and especially a dad of a daughter. With my boy Nate, I get with my best friend and it's just me, him, and Miles, and we bust his balls. We, mess with him, give him, the uncle and dad treatment and talk about girls and embarrassing them and all that stuff. Conversations that you won't have with your daughter. I'm pretty sure you and your best friend, when little man gets older, you're gonna, be messing with him. And, I'm famous for quoting the movie School Days and telling my son he ain't gonna see no parts of it. You know what? He just laughs. He thinks dad's kind of lame, but I had to let him know I went to Woodward High School. These little Wayne Mason dudes, they ain't ready for the GWs of the world. But it's really fun too, Nate. Because I tell my son all the time, your auntie was the straight A student. I was the B, C. I maybe had a couple of A's, but I have my sisters to compare with. So, and my mother was a real stickler on just the smallest things because they led to bigger things. My mother was a big stickler on how your penmanship. And and this is early on when I'm in elementary school, and how, it's the first thing that your teacher sees is how you write your name on your homework paper. And if your name is all messed up, then she can just imagine what your homework looks like. Little things like that. So, being a parent is cool, man. And, I think we all remember the days when we're like, damn, I remember when you can barely lift your head off of the blanket. Now I got to watch you because you're crawling and running around. We got to put, safety tabs on glass tables in the family room so you don't bust your head. it's different when the second child is opposed to the first child. Aaron, I wouldn't let her fall without trying to dive underneath her to save her. When Miles came around, he was like, bam, bam, just don't hurt nothing. So that was it. But like I said, man, great show. You didn't need politics, but I will say this, mate. I checked out the griot. You check out the interview between Tiffany Cross and Nina Turner.
Yeah, I'm hip to it. I will. I might even get into that later in the week. We'll see.
Okay, because, not saying that Nina backed off, but she kind of backed off a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to check out Tiffany Cross. But, I like her show on Saturday.
I've seen some clips
her
of
and
it.
Jonathan Capehart.
Okay, I'll check it. I've seen clips of it, man. Thanks for the call, brother.
Hey, you have a good one, brother.
You too, most def. Yeah, I'm hip to Is it Tiffany Cross? I'm hip to her show. I've seen the clips of it. I am aware of that clip she had, that interaction she had with Nina Turner, when Nina Turner said that back during the election that it was a choice between like two bowls of ish, basically, Trump and Biden. And then Tiffany Cross just challenged her. She held her feet to the fire on her and said, think twice about that, sister. All right, before we roll out of here, I just want to remind you that today's show is being sponsored by IMGBAT. IMGBAT. It is a Black-owned fine jewelry store. It's online, and they are, for a short time, offering a discount to Nathan Ivey Show listeners and also patrons of the Nathan Ivey Show. And check this out before we roll.
I'm Brian. I make fine jewelry and wearable art. I use the finest metals, stones, and gems to bring you unique, one-of-a-kind pieces, all available in my online store, imgbat.com. I design for men, women, and children. I use natural stones, and I create my own. My mission is to provide everyone high-quality pieces that fit your budget. Have money for diamonds, rubies, and gold? I got you covered. Bank accounts set up a certain way? I have high-grade synthetic alternatives. The point is, everybody should have access to nice things. I also have state-of-the-art jewelry cleaning equipment and 3D printing capabilities. After fighting the ugly conditions we've endured for so long, it's time to create something beautiful. Black-owned, black-designed jewelry for everyone. IMGBAT, fine jewelry and wearable art. Listeners of the Nathan Ivey Show, you get 10% off. Just put in Choppers in the discount code. And Patreons, follow up with Nathan and he'll tell you how to get 15% off.
The details are in the description today. There's a coupon code that is specifically for the listeners to this show to give you 10% off. If you're a Patreon, just check the feed. I've already posted it on the Patreon feed. You'll get 15% off on all purchases over $25 throughout the end of the year. So that's special for you. And a shout out to IMGBAT. Again, that's a Black-owned online fine jewelry store where you can purchase some one-of-a-kind items. You're not going to find them anywhere else. So you can do multiple things. Get something one-of-a-kind for yourself or somebody close to you. Could be a gift. I know Christmas is right around the corner, as in 3 to 4 days, 3 days away. It's never too late. And then, of course, you may have some birthdays, or there may be some things that are happening, anniversaries, some things that are happening earlier in the year, and take advantage of that discount. 10% off for all Nathan Ivey Show listeners. Just put the correct coupon code when you are doing a checkout. And again, all the details are in today's description on Facebook and also on YouTube. Also, support our mission. Cash App, Nathan Ivey Show. All the proceeds go directly back into CDM as we build this platform out. I got a lot of big plans for 2021, which I hope that you will like. I'm pretty sure you will. And if you want to support that mission, you can do so. If you want to connect with me directly, the details, my link tree is in the description. It connects to everything I'm doing and everywhere I'm at online. And I'm very, very accessible. So again, I'm on that podcast, Black Independent Media grind. If you can support the mission of amplifying Black voices, if you know someone, or perhaps you are interested in doing a podcast or a live stream show, hit me with a direct message and I will respond. There's a lot of very talented people in the greater Cincinnati area. And I'm very happy to be in this position to help amplify their voices. Like Tiffany Daniels, community connector. She's been doing her podcast for a while, but she focuses on Black wealth building. And she'll be coming to CDM very, very soon. Look for her. Look for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Again, have an excellent rest of your day, family. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I'll be back with you and hopefully better than ever tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7:30 a.m. Again, my schedule throughout the week is I'll be with you on Wednesday, on Thursday, but not on Friday, and then back again on Monday for a regular schedule. I still haven't made a decision about the January 1st, that's New Year's Day, which is a week from Friday. And I need to make a decision real quick. Tell me what your thoughts are. Would you like to have a January 1st show? Just leave your response in the message wherever you are today, and I'll read it. It means everything. Again, you can support our mission with a Cash App donation, Nathan Ivey Show. Thank you so much in advance. And with that, I got to bounce. Have an excellent rest of your day, family. Don't miss Midday Juice today at a special time that's coming up at 12 noon. Typically, she rocks at 1 p.m., but today at 12 noon, Midday Juice with Ask Ashley. Have an excellent day, and I'm out.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show.
Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand.
I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, I told him it's nothing. In the discussion, for the feelings I throw on my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't